In my childhood, I fought with stray dogs for food, on the brink of starvation, when a young male courtesan gave me half a steamed bun. To repay his kindness, I disguised myself as a boy and stayed by his side as a servant. This man was once the most esteemed crown prince of the dynasty. Overnight, he fell into the mire, humiliated and trampled by his sworn enemy. Later, he became a mad emperor feared by all. Yet on a snowy night, he slit his own throat, and before dying, he begged foolishly, "Yunling, don't look at me, I'm so dirty." When I opened my eyes again, time had turned back 20 years. The imperial tutor harbored a wolfish ambition, the general eyed the throne covetously, and the imperial brother plotted treason. Only the young prince, innocent and pure, knew nothing of it all. In this life, I have come only to protect him. The emperor has so many lovers, do you even remember me? Before the words faded, another head rolled to the ground. I had heard countless such vile remarks today. I wiped the blood from my blade, pressed my lips together, and looked up at Xiao Qi on the high throne. He wrapped himself in a jet-black heavy cloak, his face as pale and cold as snow. Tired of cutting, our gazes met, and his expression was calm, as if he were not the one being insulted. I waved a hand. The next man dragged into the Golden Yuan Hall was the deposed emperor. He was once Xiao Qi's dearest younger brother, yet he had betrayed him, humiliated him, and trampled him underfoot. Xiao Zhe was forced to his knees, and he tilted his head up with a smile. "Brother Emperor, you make such a grand show of executing people. Surely tomorrow, your scandalous fame will spread all over the capital." My blade pressed against his neck. "Shut up." Xiao Zhe burst into laughter, his eyes brimming with unhidden malice. "Your master hasn't spoken a word. Why are you, a dog, so worked up? Could it be that you too are the emperor's bedmate?" A vein throbbed on my forehead. I raised my hand, ready to gouge out his malicious eyes first. A hand patted my shoulder. Xiao Qi had descended from the high platform without my noticing. He lifted his eyelids, his voice icy cold. "I will skin you alive with my own hands." Xiao Zhe licked his lips as if savoring a delicious taste. "Brother Emperor, you are truly a beauty with a blade, each strike cutting at my life. Yet compared to you, I still prefer to call you Fengling." I stared at him, enunciating each word clearly. "Before that, I'll cut out your tongue first." 2. Rain fell in the dead of night. When I returned, the stench of blood on the jade steps was still thick. No amount of washing could erase it. A candle burned in the palace hall. I pressed a finger to the window paper, making a small tear to peek inside. Xiao Qi seemed to sense my presence, and as he lifted his eyes, he caught me red-handed. I entered the hall and hung my head obediently. I threw him into the slums, and found dozens of beggars for him. "I swear he won't die really. Tomorrow I'll drag him back for your majesty to execute. He must not die so easily." My voice grew fainter and fainter. After a long silence, I heard a sigh. He asked, "Then why are you crying?" I stared blankly, lifting my brows, and tears fell uncontrollably. By the candlelight, his cheeks were gaunt, drained of all color. He had endured humiliation and suffering for 10 years. Now, his body was racked with illness, his life flickering like a dying candle. Amid the countless vile words in the Golden Yuan Hall, only one thing had been said truly. After today, Xiao Qi's past would spread all over the capital. Everyone would know. Once, in the Spring Breeze Tower, there was a young courtesan named Fengling. He was the former deposed crown prince, and now the new emperor. 3. The scandalous name Fengling was a deliberate insult coined by Xiao Zhe at Xiao Qi's 100-day banquet. An immortal passed by during his travels. He said this child had a golden bone and a jade visage, his nobility unparalleled. He even gave him a courtesy name, Phoenix. Xiao Qi's life was supposed to be like that. He was supposed to be the proudest, brightest young phoenix in the capital. Until he was 17, his younger brother, colluding with his teacher and dearest friend, broke his wings. They framed him, having him deposed, then forged a medical record declaring him dead from illness. They imprisoned him outside the palace and humiliated him. That year, I was 10 years old, and I first met Fengling. It was New Year's Eve, and the snow fell heavily. There was not even wild grass to eat. The Spring Breeze Tower was decorated with lanterns and streamers. I sat by the wall, waiting to die. The scent of food wafted out from inside, and my stomach twisted into a knot. Just as I closed my eyes, a hard object hit me on the head. I was too hungry to summon the strength to curse. I reached out and grabbed it, only to find it was half a cold steamed bun. Fearing it would be snatched away, I devoured it ravenously. God, is there more? I knelt on the ground, clasped my hands together, and kowtowed devoutly. That's all there is. From upstairs, a hoarse voice rang out. I followed the sound with my eyes, and I almost froze. In the depths of winter, the young man wore thin clothes. He held the other half of the steamed bun calmly. Then, that half hit me on the head too. He was like a Buddha statue trapped in the mire, unable to save himself, yet miraculously, he filled my stomach with a whole steamed bun. What was I thinking then? This little Buddha looks like he's going to die, but he saved me, who was moments from starvation, so I ought to repay him for something. His arms were covered in bruises, as if he had been bullied. I had roamed the streets since I was a child, and I fought fiercer than a dog. I thought, I can protect him, and I did. Time turned. And 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Now, everyone in the palace knows, the new emperor is a madman. By his side, he keeps a mad dog. For, Yunling, Xiao Qi always woke screaming on thunderous nights. I held a candle, and hurried to lift the bed curtains. Your Majesty, I'm here. The candle flame flickered, Xiao Qi's face as white as paper, cold sweat beading on his forehead. I clenched his hand. It was cold, devoid of all warmth. Your Majesty, Yunling is here, it's all right. Your Majesty, I'm here. Xiao Qi's gasps gradually calmed. He whispered hoarsely, I dreamed of Duan Changfeng. I took my sword, and cut his throat little by little. He died with his eyes open, asking me if I was not his dearest friend. Dearest friend. Ha, ha ha ha. He laughed until tears nearly fell. I patted his shoulder gently. Your Majesty, forget the Duan family was already executed to the last person. The traitor Duan torn apart by 5 horses. His head was hung in the East Market for display, as a warning to all. 370 of his remaining followers and accomplices have all been beheaded. Good, good. Xiao Qi laughed softly. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. His expression wild. I will kill them all. I supported his unsteady form, finding him as light as a wisp of cloud. Yunling swears to follow your Majesty unto death. 5. To congratulate the new emperor on his ascension, Nanjiao presented several camellia trees, known as the Palace Shining Red. They bloom in the snow, their color like fire, brilliant and fierce, along with the flower trees. They also sent the fleeing Grand Tutor Jiyu Yang. He was once the teacher Xiao Qi respected the most. I do not know what he and Xiao Qi said to each other. All I know is that after Jiyu Yang was escorted back to the imperial prison by the imperial guards, Xiao Qi sat alone in the hall for a very long time. So long that night fell, and he covered his face, laughing wildly in the dark. He never shed tears. This look might have been crying too. I walked over quietly, letting him clutch the hem of my sleeve, a merciful boat in the sea of suffering. He could not grasp the fate that toyed with him. So he could only hold onto a soft sleeve hanging before him. He was a lone boat adrift on the waves, and my sleeve was the mooring rope, to pull him to the shore. Ailing, he lowered his eyes, his expression hidden in the dark, unseeable. I want to eat a steamed bun, I said. I will order the imperial kitchen to make one. I want the kind from the old Spring Breeze Tower, Your Majesty. Now, he stared at me steadily. There was even a hint of entreaty in his eyes. I fell silent for a long while. Yes, I tucked a few steamed buns into my bosom, and had just crossed the last imperial gate, when a young eunuch from the Weiyang Palace came running in terror. Lady Yunling, the emperor is in trouble. 6. On the snowy night, red light filled my eyes. The palace shining red blooming brilliantly. My eyes moved sluggishly. I saw the man who had acted coquettishly, begging for a steamed bun. Half an hour earlier, a dagger was plunged into Xiao Qi's chest. Fresh blood soaked through the deep snow, like a cluster of cold, eerie flames. This was the grandest palace shining red in the snow. I knelt down, reaching out with trembling hands, only to meet those stunning eyes unexpectedly. Don't look at me, he spoke in a low voice, as if begging. Dirty. More blood gushed out of his throat in a rush. soaking the front of my robe. I asked dumbly, "Are you going to die?" He smiled foolishly. "Ailing, aren't you happy for me?" Yes, ever since he was 17. He had lived only for revenge. Now that his great vengeance was avenged, there was nothing left in this world to keep him here. Something cold fell on my wrist. This was the first time I had seen his tears. He did not cry when he was humiliated in the Spring Breeze Tower. He did not cry when illness racked his body, making life worse than death. Yet before he died, he shed a single tear. He said, "This is the happiest day I've had in 10 years. Tears of joy, perhaps," before he drew his last breath. I heard him murmur something. It was very soft, yet I still heard it clearly. "Ailing, everyone is evil. But why are you so good?" I closed his eyes, which he had refused to shut even in death. Tears fell unceasingly. "You are the only one who ever gave me a steamed bun. In truth, it was not just a single steamed bun. You gave me so much more. I never told Xiao Qi. In my past life, he was the reason I lived to be 10 years old. The crown prince was kind and benevolent. And every 16th day of the month, he set up porridge stalls outside the Guangji gate to feed the poor. That was the day I looked forward to the most each month. I did not have to beg or fight for food. I could eat my fill. Thus, my admiration for the crown prince far surpassed that for gods and Buddhas. Gods and Buddhas demanded offerings from me, but the crown prince generously let me eat my fill. He was my god. Then one day, the porridge stalls were gone. I only found out then that the crown prince was dead. I traded half a steamed bun with another beggar for half a white candle. I had no money to light a lamp for him in the temple. I could only light half a candle for him, to brighten a little of his path in the cycle of reincarnation. When the candle flame burned out, I went back to begging, fighting for food, roaming the streets, until that snowy night, on the brink of starvation, half a steamed bun fell from the sky, hitting me on the head. Like a cycle of fate, I looked up, and my God looked down. Divine favor had descended upon my life once more, saving me from the abyss, for the countless time. 7. Extreme red and white intertwined in my eyes, blurring everything into patches. On the snowy night, the palace bells rang together. The mournful sound of a royal funeral. My whole body was cold, and gradually, I could not see, nor hear. The sense of being alive in my body faded away with the man in my arms. In a daze, I thought I heard someone shouting and cursing. Where did this woman fall from? "Protect the prince! Protect the prince! An assassin! Someone is trying to assassinate the crown prince." The world spun, and I fell to my knees in disarray. Chaotic footsteps echoed endlessly. Imperial guards surrounded me, spears raised, blades flashed and swords clashed. Yet all I could see were those clear eyes. The young prince, about 10 years old, tilted his head, curiosity filling his gaze. "You. Why did you fall from the sky? Are you the immortal mother spoke of?" I held back my tears and whispered, "I am. I have come for you, your highness." 8. I needed an identity, one that would let me stay in the palace. By Xiao Qi's side, it was the 12th year of Zhaoning. That year, no rain fell on the capital for 3 months, and thousands of mu of crops on the outskirts withered to near death. I remembered this drought would not last long, so I volunteered to pray for rain. I knelt on a high platform and offered my supplications. In the third watch of the night, a heavy downpour came pouring down. The emperor was overjoyed, bestowing on me the title of Divine Maiden and keeping me in the palace to attend him. I recalled all that had happened in my past life, and foretold several more events. Overnight, I became the emperor's most favored confidant. That day, as I left the imperial study, I chanced upon Grand Tutor Jiyu Yang arriving for a council. As we passed each other, he snapped, "Charlatan." I raised an eyebrow. "How can the Grand Tutor be sure it is not real?" Jiyu Yang sneered, "Gods and ghosts are nothing but nonsense. Divine Maiden, you had better not let me catch you in your lies." I let out a cold laugh, my eyes darkening. "Is that so? Then the Grand Tutor had better have a clear conscience, and not do evil, otherwise, beware the vengeful ghosts that come for your life." In my past life, Jiyu Yang forged a handwritten letter, colluding with Duan Changfeng, who had just returned from the border, to falsely accuse the prince of treason. Enraged, the emperor deposed the prince from his position as crown prince. everything Jiyu Yang did was to pave the way for Xiaozhe. Xiaozhe's birth mother was a beauty presented to the court by Nanzhao. In his youth, Jiyu Yang had lived in Nanzhao as a guest, and had met her several times. He had desired her, and never forgotten her. From the moment he first saw Xiaozhe, he recognized those eyes that resembled his old love's. He would give everything for those eyes, pushing the young boy who adored and respected him into the abyss of eternal damnation. And I was the vengeful ghost crawling out of that abyss. Come to claim his soul, I would never let him go. 9. After being reborn for so long, I only just discovered that the single tear Xiao Qi shed in my past life had become a cinnabar mole on my wrist. I stared in a daze for a long time, until a clear child's voice pulled me back to reality. Divine Maiden, how were you able to pray for rain? I lowered my head, and met a pair of bright black and white eyes. In these days since my rebirth, I had been busy gaining the Emperor's trust. Busy plotting my revenge, I had neglected the most important person, the young prince, this tiny child, trailing after me like a little tail, asking me endless questions, calling me Divine Maiden, Divine Maiden. I could never refuse his requests. I pushed open the window lattice, and moonlight streamed through the hall. Did you hear that, Your Highness? Xiao Qi stared blankly. The wind? Yes, I smiled, and it is the east wind, so tomorrow will be a fine day. One leaf falls. And one knows the coming of autumn. How could a little beggar, who had slept in the open and eaten cold meals, predict thunder and lightning, and avoid wind and rain? By these very things, the glow of the sun, the direction of the wind, the drift of the clouds, Xiao Qi understood at once. He fell into thought. Before that rain came, what did the Divine Maiden see? A solar halo. I told him softly. That is why I dared to proclaim that rain would come in the third watch. Having his answer, Xiao Qi stared at me for a long, long time, so long that a faint unease rose in my heart. I bit my lip imperceptibly. Would he think I was a liar? Then I heard his clear, childish voice. Divine Maiden, I feel like I have met you before. It is as if I saw you somewhere once. I nearly dropped the candlestick in my hand. Is that so? My smile was a little forced. It would be better if he thought I was a liar. I would rather he never remembered any of those things for the rest of his life. I would rather he had never met me at all. Xiao Qi nodded earnestly, then frowned in distress. But I cannot remember where. I knelt down, wanting to pat his head, my hand halfway there. I suddenly realized the impropriety of the gesture, and instead smoothed out his lapel. I whispered, perhaps it was in a dream. Where would that be? Your Highness was gentle and benevolent. Perhaps he saw me, in his love for all living beings. 10. When I stepped into the Eastern Palace. Xiaozhe was clinging to Xiao Qi's arm, acting coy and sweet. He had Nanzhao blood. Though younger than Xiao Qi, he was much taller and bigger in stature, making him seem more like the elder brother. The bond between the two began with an act of kindness from Xiao Qi, because of his amber eyes. Xiaozhe's days in the palace had never been easy. At that time, he had not yet met Jiyu Yang, and no one stood up for him. The other princes mocked him, bullied him, called him a monster. That day, as he was being tormented as usual, the young crown prince's procession happened to pass by. The other princes, too busy kowtowing by the roadside to continue beating him, were as obedient as could be. Only Xiaozhe's eyes were red with rage. He threw caution to the wind and lunged forward, halting the crown prince's carriage dead in its tracks. Brother Emperor, save me. Xiaozhe's head had been broken open, blood streaming down his brow bone. He looked like a wolf cub driven into a corner. The guards on either side moved to drive him away, but were stopped. The carriage curtain was lifted. Xiaozhe stared blankly, tilting his head up to meet those gentle, benevolent eyes. Then the young crown prince did the worst thing of his life. He stretched out his hand to Xiaozhe. He did not know that the person before him was a vicious wolf that could never be tamed. A vicious wolf does not repay kindness. It only wants to step into the hall and devour his flesh and blood whole. Xiaozhe had hated many people, but the one he hated the most was the elder brother who had saved him from the abyss. He hated that Xiao Qi was born in the clouds, blessed with countless honors, standing high above all. He hated that he himself could only kneel in the dust, looking up in abjection. He hated, and I hated too. I would make the moon hang high in the clouds, no matter what. I would make the maggots wallow in the mud, and only the mud, for all eternity. 11. Divine Maiden. At the sight of me, Xiao Qi's eyes lit up like stars. He excitedly introduced me to his favorite younger brother. This is Xiaozhe. Xiaozhe wore a shy smile, calling me in a sickly sweet voice, Sister Divine Maiden. I felt as if a poisonous snake had coiled around me, a wave of nausea rising in my throat. My mind was filled with the scene in the Golden Wan Hall in my past life. This man had called him Fengling in that same sickly sweet tone. Xiaozhe was extremely perceptive. He immediately noticed my coldness. After cooing a few words to Xiao Qi, he took his leave, claiming to be unwell. The tea jar he had brought still sat on the table. I lifted the lid, and a rich tea fragrance lingered in my nostrils. What is this? At the mention of it, a smile bloomed in Xiao Qi's eyes. This is medicinal tea that Xiaozhe gave me. He said it is made in the Nanjiao way. I have never seen tea like this before. My wrist trembled. Xiao Qi peeked at me cautiously. His little face filled with worry. Is the Divine Maiden unwell? I will have them summon the imperial physician. I am fine. Meeting his unconvinced gaze, I forced a smile, coaxing him softly. It is the emperor. He has been unwell lately from the summer heat. I have heard that Nanjiao medicinal tea has the effect of relieving summer heat. Why does your highness not present some to the emperor? At my words, Xiao Qi nodded solemnly. I smiled and took my leave. The moment I crossed the palace gate, my expression darkened. In my memory, the prince's health had always been poor in my past life. He had sought out famous physicians from all over the world, yet none could say what was wrong with him, until a wandering physician from Nanjiao felt his pulse and revealed the truth. The prince was not ill, he had been poisoned, a rare and little-known poison from Nanjiao. The poison had been administered over a long period of time, seeping into his heart and meridians, incurable by any medicine or stone. Xiaozhe's birth mother, noble consort Rong, had died early. Looking across the palace, there was only one person who knew of this rare Nanjiao poison, and who could have taught him to make it with his own hands. At the thought, I let out a cold laugh. Truly, I had just been about to make my move, and someone had handed me a blade. Now Du and Changfeng had not yet returned to the capital. It was the perfect time for me to divide and conquer them. Jiyu Yang, you love the one and dote on the other, cherishing this son of your old love so deeply. I wonder how far you are willing to go for him. 12. In the Hall of Mental Cultivation, the Emperor and Xiao Qi sat facing each other, brewing tea. A delicate fragrance curling in the air. It was at this moment that I burst in. Your Majesty, Crown Prince, do not drink it. The Emperor frowned. Divine Maiden, what is the meaning of this? There is something wrong with this tea. The teacup shattered on the ground in an instant. Your Majesty, calm yourself. This medicinal tea was first presented to the Crown Prince by the second prince, who said it has the effect of relieving summer heat and calming the spirit. The Crown Prince, in his filial piety, wished to present it to you. It is a most virtuous act, but I had a dream at noon, and thus hurried here at once. For all my previous prophecies, I had used premonitory dreams as my excuse. The Emperor already trusted me immensely, and as my dreams had time and again come true, he believed in them without a shadow of a doubt. I told him of my dream, that the tea was poisoned, and that both he and the Crown Prince would fall ill after drinking it. The Emperor's face darkened in an instant. He summoned the entire Imperial Medical Academy to examine the tea. Soon, an imperial physician came to a conclusion. Your Majesty, there is a herb in this tea, green datura. Green datura itself is not poisonous, but when mixed with the nature of tea, it produces a strange and deadly poison. The Emperor flew into a rage. Someone dares to plot to harm me and the Crown Prince. He remembered who had sent the medicinal tea. Guards, summon the second prince. I coughed awkwardly, my eyes wandering. The Emperor's gaze snapped to me. Divine Maiden, you have more to say. I hung my head, speaking slowly. In my dream, there was one more thing. 13. I told the Emperor of Jiyu Yang's old affair with noble consort Rong. The Emperor was doubtful, and sent his hidden guards to investigate. Knowing the most damning conclusion, it was easy to trace back the steps, and the truth soon came to light. The Emperor was furious beyond measure. Grand Tutor, you are far too impatient, forming cliques for personal gain, colluding with a prince, poisoning me and the crown prince. You grow tired of being Grand Tutor, and wish to be regent instead. The evidence was irrefutable. Jiyu Yang's face turned deathly pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His poison was rare in the world. He could not believe the Imperial Medical Academy had discovered it so quickly, until he heard that the poison the physicians had found was green datura. Green datura. Jiyu Yang woke from his stupor, clutching at a thread of hope. I did not add green datura. He quickly pieced together the whole story. Your Majesty, though it was I who taught the second prince to make this medicinal tea, I never had the intention of harming anyone. Bring all the maids and eunuchs of the Eastern Palace. Let us see who else has touched this tea. He pointed at me, trembling all over with rage. Someone is definitely framing me for treason, Your Majesty. Listen to both sides and you will see the truth. Trust only one side and you will be blinded. The Emperor shot me a hesitant glance. Things had come to this, so I could only nod with a fake smile. Beneath my sleeve, my hand broke out in a cold sweat. I was the one who had added the green datura. Jiyu Yang had covered his tracks too well. In my past life, only that wandering physician from Nanjiao in the entire world had recognized his poison. The bungling fools of the Imperial Medical Academy would never have detected it, but I had no time to spare. In this vast sea of people, where would I find a single wandering physician? Yet once we accused them of poisoning, did it really matter what poison it was? I had to take the risk. For the chance to topple both the Grand Tutor and the second prince in one fell swoop, I would gamble everything. I had been careful that night, but even the best laid plans have flaws, and one person had seen me. That person was Yenyu, the head made a sign to Xiao Qi by the Empress. Now, everyone from the Eastern Palace was brought to the hall one by one. These past few days, have any of you seen anyone enter the Eastern Palace? My gaze met Yenyu's in midair. She averted her eyes. There was one person, Your Majesty. This servant dares not hide the truth. Jiyu Yang pressed her eagerly. Who? Yenyu lifted her eyes. Grand Tutor Jiyu Yang, 14, with both witness and material evidence against him. Jiyu Yang could not defend himself, yet he still struggled to clear the second prince's name. Love had clouded his judgment. He was completely muddled. He did not realize that his actions would only enrage the Emperor further. The Emperor's wrath knew no bounds. Jiyu Yang's crimes were tantamount to treason. He was stripped of his title, thrown into prison, and sentenced to death by beheading in the autumn. On the eve of his execution, I went to the imperial prison to see him. In these days, he had finally pieced together the whole truth. Hearing footsteps, he looked up, his eyes cold and sinister. Killing two birds with one stone. What a clever ploy, I scoffed. Still not as clever as the Grand Tutor's decades of scheming. Jiyu Yang lunged at me, as if he would tear me to shreds. Why do you target me at every turn? Why hound me step by step? The iron chains binding him clanged loudly. I stared down at him from above. I warned you, have a clear conscience, do not do evil. The imperial prison reeked of blood and death. I inhaled the scent almost obsessively, then suddenly smiled. Otherwise, beware the vengeful ghost that comes to claim your soul. Jiyu Yang was stunned by my mad expression. Who are you? What is your purpose? Things had come to this. I might as well tell him, let him die with his eyes open. I have come for one person, to slay the demons and ghosts in his path, to clear the road ahead for him. My little Buddha need only be kind to all 6 realms. Behind him, there will always be a Vaja with an angry face, subduing the 4 demons for him. Jiyu Yang let out a bitter laugh. To the victor go the spoils. I have nothing to say. I raised my hand and poured all the wine the jailer had brought onto the ground. But you will get every slice of the 1,000 cuts you deserve. Not one will be missing. 15. Xiaozhe had gone mad. He had lost the Grand Tutor's support. The Emperor loathed him, and Xiao Qi refused to see him, claiming illness. In a single night, he had lost everything he had. There would be no coming back for him. When I stepped over the threshold of the cold palace, Xiaozhe was kneeling by the wall, shoving wild grass into his mouth to stave off hunger. In just a few days, he had become a different person, gloomy, gaunt, emaciated. His eyes moved mechanically. At the sight of me, He only giggled foolishly. I have no grudge against you. Why do you treat me like this? The question was ridiculous. He was so young, yet his heart was so vicious. He had brought this on himself. I stared at him, sneering in reply. Did the crown prince ever wrong you? Xiaozhi froze. After a long while, a gurgling sound escaped his throat. He lunged at me like a madman, but I stepped aside. And he fell to the ground, his head split open on the stone, blood streaming down his brow bone. He laughed and cried at the same time. Why even you must help him? He is the legitimate son of the empress, born to be the exalted crown prince. Does he need your help? What about me? A bastard born of a foreign beauty. I have nothing. Divine maiden, are you not a divine maiden? Should you not save all living beings? Save me, please save me. I denied it outright. I am not. The only one who could have saved you is the one you chose to abandon. What kind of divine maiden was I? From the very beginning, the only one who ever wished to save all living beings was the crown prince himself. From today on, this cold palace is your tomb. You will be trapped here for the rest of your life. Until you die, I would make him watch himself waste away. The moon hangs high in the clouds, unreachable, and he is only fit to wallow in the mud with maggots. Looking up for all eternity, the palace door slammed shut. Just as it was about to close completely, Xiaozhi suddenly seemed to snap back to his senses. A faint vow drifted out from between his lips. You killed my foster father. The days are long. I will make you pay with your blood. I did not look back. If you do not wish to live in ignominy, killing you would be no trouble at all. 16. This was the 7th time I had come to the Eastern Palace these past few days. The young maid looked apologetic. His Highness is ill. He will not see anyone. Xiao Qi refused to see me. With his quick wit, it was only a matter of time before he guessed what I had done. Such a young child, suddenly losing both the teacher he revered and the younger brother he doted on. It was only natural for him to blame me. I thought for a moment, then pulled a jade seal from my sleeve. This was the birthday gift I had promised to carve for him a few days ago. I had thought of many auspicious phrases, but in the end, I carved 4 characters. Chang Le Wei Yang, may joy be endless, may blessings be eternal, may his life be filled with unending happiness, may he be blessed forever. I handed it to the young maid to pass on to him, then I spoke, choosing my words carefully. I have no excuses for my actions. I will accept whatever punishment His Highness deems fit. I turned to leave, but heard a hoarse voice call out, "Wait." I spun around abruptly. Xiao Qi stood there, his clothes disheveled, barefoot, his eyes were red and swollen, his face filled with grievance. Do you really refuse to say a single word in your defense? If you leave today, do not ever come back to the Eastern Palace again. He threatened me, his voice thick with tears. Afraid I would turn and leave at once, his small hand clung tightly to the hem of my robe. My heart ached so badly it felt like it would break. I knelt down and looked into his puffy eyes. If I told you the truth, would you believe me, Your Highness? I will believe whatever you say, but you cannot say nothing at all. In the end, I did not tell him the final, cruel truth. The malice of this world is a colossal thing, and he is still so young. Before this little phoenix's wings grow strong, the only thing I want to do is protect him. So I only told him, vaguely, Your Highness, I come from your future, but I cannot tell you the details, as compensation. You may ask me one question, I will answer it truthfully, no secrets hidden. Xiao Qi froze. He sat there, as if processing this fact. After a long while, he tugged at my sleeve and looked up at me, his eyes bright with longing for the future. What will I be like in the future? He stared at me, his eyes shining with hope for what lay ahead. He truly believed his life would be great, as his father, mother, courtiers, and historians all said it would be. He would build a new golden age. No one knows, no one could ever imagine, in the not-too-distant future, he will be betrayed and deceived by those he trusts the most, trampled underfoot. He will be consumed by an incurable illness, his body wasted away, all trace of his former brightness gone. He will become a mad emperor, unrecognizable even to himself. No one will remember the gentle, benevolent crown prince. Never again. My heart felt as if it had been stabbed with a knife, the pain making it hard to breathe, yet on my face. I forced a smile. I said, in the future, Your Highness will be a great ruler whose fame lasts for 1,000 years, whose kindness blesses all the people. I lied to him. In the future, he will become a tyrant, reviled by all. He will slit his own throat on a snowy night at the age of 27. His life will be filled with suffering and wandering, no peace even in death. Xiao Qi's face lit up with brilliant joy, his eyes crinkling at the corners. What about you, divine maiden? Will you still stay with me? My nose stung with tears. I will, even if 10,000 people abandon you. Yunling will always stand by your side. Xiao Qi is such a sensitive child. Perhaps he sensed something was wrong. He suddenly asked me, his voice small and cautious, will there come a day when you are no longer here? Divine maiden, shesh, I pressed my index finger to my lips. That is a second question. Your Highness, we agreed only one question. If he asked more, I would not be able to hold back my tears. Xiao Qi huffed and wrapped himself tightly in his quilt, rolling back and forth on the bed, looking utterly annoyed. Then he thought of something, and suddenly poked his head out, his voice muffled by the quilt. Divine maiden, you will not leave, right? Do not worry, Your Highness. How could I bear to leave you? 17. As I left the Eastern Palace, I chanced upon the Empress's procession. Yenyu, who had come to see me off, stopped in her tracks. She made a gesture of invitation to me. Her Majesty the Empress has been waiting for a long time. My heart sank abruptly. Then I heard the Empress's gentle voice from inside the palanquin. Do not be alarmed, divine maiden. I only wished to speak with you for a moment. I pressed my lips together and lifted the pearl curtain. The Empress was breathtakingly beautiful. She had a graceful, regal face, with thin, delicate eyebrows curved like a crescent moon, an air of quiet elegance about her. As if she had stepped out of an ancient painting of the Goddess of Mercy, I could not look away. At last, I knew where Xiao Qi had inherited his extraordinary looks. The Empress was used to such stares. She did not rebuke me for my days, only took a small sip of tea. You have been rather careless in your deeds, divine maiden. My breath caught in my throat. I knew she was talking about the green datura I had added to the tea. But do not worry, she smiled softly and set down her teacup. Yenyu is my most trusted maid. No one else will ever know what happened that night. I opened my mouth, dumbfounded. For a moment, I did not know what to say. After a long while, only one question came out. Why? Because I trust you. The Empress lowered her eyes, twirling her golden nail guard between her fingers. I saw you 10 years ago. You once saved my little phoenix's life. What? My eyes widened in shock. How could that be? The Empress's expression remained calm and unruffled. You need not doubt me. I have a photographic memory. That is why I trust you. Her next words were loaded with meaning. I have cleaned up your mess this time. But next time, you must be more careful. Before I could ask more questions, the Empress smiled gently. I am tired. Yenyu, see the divine maiden out. 18. There is a pavilion in the palace called the Star-Picking Pavilion. It is said that the current national master is the wisest and purest man in the world, yet his temper is eccentric. He dares to contradict even the emperor, and wins no favor with the throne. After a long time, the door of the Star-Picking Pavilion was knocked on once more. Thick dust choked me into a fit of coughing. After a moment, the dust slowly settled, and my vision cleared. I saw a rather young and handsome young monk. His features were like a painted scroll, his teeth white as jade and lips red as vermilion. He chanted a Buddhist mantra. This humble monk is Miaofa. His voice was hoarse like an old man's. I stumbled back in shock. Miaofa seemed oblivious, closing his eyes and smiling. Divine maiden, how have you been? Would you care for a drink? 1,000 emotions surged in my heart. I did not know whether to first ask him, can you see me? Or do not monks abstain from alcohol? Or perhaps, have we met before? Yet Miaofa seemed to read my thoughts. He said, this humble monk recognizes the sound of the benefactor's footsteps. I frowned. You are a most strange monk. He did not take offense, only smiled gently. To hear the divine maiden say so, it grieves this humble monk a little. I touched my arm, barely resisting a shiver. In an awkward silence, Miaofa sighed. On the young highness's 100-day banquet, rosy clouds filled the sky, and 100 birds sang together. An immortal passing by bestowed upon the young highness the courtesy name Phoenix. The emperor deemed it an auspicious omen, and ordered a painter to create the portrait of the divine maiden. I stared in a daze. 10 years ago, another divine maiden had come to the palace. Miaofar lowered his eyes, and only said, "The portrait of the divine maiden is kept in the Eastern Palace." He seemed to have more to say. But I left in such a hurry that he had no time to speak, nor did I see, after I left the star-picking pavilion, Miaofar's face aging at a visible speed, rosy cheeks at dawn, a withered skeleton by dusk. At last, he opened his eyes. If I had been there, I would have cried out in shock. Miaofar's eye sockets were empty, nothing at all inside them, but in their outline, he had once had a pair of exquisitely beautiful eyes. 19. I found the portrait of the divine maiden. Miaofar had lied to me. The painting indeed depicted a figure with flowing robes, bestowing a blessing upon the young crown prince, yet whether from faded pigments or the painter's deliberate blank space, the divine maiden's face was blurred beyond recognition. I seethed with frustration for a moment. After turning it over in my mind, I was certain Miaofar knew something. He not only knew, he had tricked me. I rose in a rage, ready to storm back to the star-picking pavilion. When the toll of a bell echoed through the palace, like a stone cast into still water, rippling outward, I stopped a passing eunuch. What is the meaning of this? In my past life, I had heard the funeral bell for Xiao Qi. It was nothing like this. His Holiness the National Master has passed into nirvana. The star-picking pavilion had many visitors that day. I pushed through the bustling crowd, my gaze sweeping past the skeleton on the lotus platform, and my eyes wandering blankly through the pavilion. Where was Miaofar? A tug on my sleeve. Xiao Qi looked up at me, his face filled with worry. "Divine maiden, why are you crying?" I touched my cheeks, and only then felt the wet streaks of tears. "I do not know." The Empress, Miaofar, the portrait of the divine maiden. The world spun before my eyes. The mottled shades of the scroll filled my vision. I could even see the tiny downy feathers on the phoenix's wings. Yet I could never make out the divine maiden's eyebrows and eyes in the painting. I had almost certainly forgotten something very important. I inquired far and wide, and found Miaofar's disciple outside the palace walls. Learning my purpose, the fat monk lowered his eyes and chanted a Buddhist mantra. "The benefactor has come." His words made it clear he had long expected me. Master indeed left a message for the benefactor. The fat monk smiled. Would the benefactor hear the lie, or the truth? I stared in confusion. What? The lie is, better to cherish the one before your eyes. The truth is, this humble monk hates you to the bone, yet following you has been great fun. I wish to meet you again in the next life. 20. The 19th year of Zhaoning, spring flowers bloomed in delicate beauty. Yunling. A figure in bright red rode toward me from the forest, his robes fluttering in the wind, broad-shouldered and narrow-waisted. What a handsome young man he was, from whose family he came. He pulled a chubby little white cat from his arms, and held it out to me like a treasure. Its fur is so white and soft to the touch. I have given it a name. I call it Sweet Osmanthus Cake. Is it a good name? He crinkled his eyes, and starlight glinted in his smile. That year, Xiao Qi was 16, as I had wished. He had grown into a spirited young man, a highness I had never seen in my past life. I looked at the bright young man before me, my heart aching with bitterness. Unable to tear my eyes away, this was how he should have been forever, bold and bright. Yet I had not expected. The young highness had grown up, and no longer trailed after me like a little tail, calling me divine maiden. Instead, he called me Yunling again and again, his voice warm and intimate. He had once been curious about the origin of my name, pestering me endlessly to tell him. Helpless, I pointed to the cloud cake on the small table, then to another plate of tuckahoe cake. It sounded ridiculous, but that was truly how it came to be. I had been abandoned at birth, and at 10 years old, I was still a nameless beggar. When I snuck into the Spring Breeze Tower all those years ago, a few maids were passing around pastries. I had no name, but I remembered the names of the pastries. Master. I am Yunling. Then I stood before Fengling, and told him this hastily cobbled together name. The sickly sweet scent of love still lingered in the room. Fengling wore a thin robe, his gaze fixed on the distant sky, unfocused. I knelt before him, and stammered, "Master, from now on, Yunling will protect you. Yunling has come to repay a kindness. Fongling's eyes turned toward me mechanically. He spoke, his voice so soft it threatened to dissolve into the lingering incense smoke. What kindness do you seek to repay? How could I ever forget? I reminded him earnestly. On New Year's Eve, Master gave me a steamed bun. At that time, I had not yet recognized the man before me as the Crown Prince. I came to his side, followed him, pledged my loyalty to him. Only because he had given me a steamed bun when I was on the brink of starvation. Fongling froze. He had shown kindness to countless people in his life, striving to be a benevolent crown prince. In the end, he was betrayed by all who surrounded him. Only a little beggar remembered the steamed bun he had given away at random. He covered his face and shook with an uncontrollable laugh. Yet I thought he was crying. Master, I panicked. Who has wronged you? I will kill them. For this one promise. I followed him for 2 lifetimes. I have never dared to forget it. 21. The sweet osmanthus cake that Xiao Qi had picked up grew bigger and bigger, until one day. I stared at the black stripes gradually appearing on its body, lost in thought. Sweet osmanthus cake shook its big head, nuzzling me with its round ears. Oh, I stroked its thick, furry paw, and looked at Xiao Qi beside me. This is the cat the Highness picked up. Xiao Qi coughed lightly, struggling to hold back his laughter. Ailing, how have you only just noticed? The Highness had turned naughty. I pretended to be angry and reached out to pinch his ear. He caught my wrist, crinkling his eyes and begging for mercy. I am wrong. I know I am wrong. Amid our frolicking, a clear cough came from before us. Yenyu lowered her eyebrows. Your Highness, Miss Qin's carriage is waiting outside the palace gate. The Crown Prince had reached the age to choose a consort. The Empress had selected and reselected among the noble ladies of the capital, and finally set her sights on Qin Wn, the granddaughter of the old duke. Both families wished to bring them together, and thus chose the Lantern Festival night market this evening for them to wander together. Xiao Qi frowned. Did I not say I would not go? I pulled my hand free from Xiao Qi's, and forced a smile. Your Highness, go quickly. Do not keep Miss Qin waiting too long. Yenyu also spoke. Your Highness, if you delay any longer, Her Majesty the Empress will blame this servant. Xiao Qi was ushered out of the palace gate. He tried several times to look back, but was blocked by the anxious maids and eunuchs. Gradually, he faded into the distance. I could barely see him in the crowd anymore, until a wet, prickly sensation came from my palm. Sweet osmanthus cake was licking my hand. I lowered my eyes, and looked at the cinnabar mole on my wrist. Ever since I had toppled the Grand Tutor and Xiaozhe, this mole had not been as bright as it once was. I had come to this life because of this cinnabar mole. Perhaps when the cinnabar mole fades away, I too will be forced to leave. To return to that snowy night where I lost Xiao Qi forever. I dare not think about it any further. All I know is that I must deal with one person as soon as possible. These days, a great event has unfolded in the court. The Northern Pacification Army has returned in triumph, and the young Marquis Duan will arrive in the capital soon. 22. In my past life, the Highness regarded Duan Changfeng as his dearest friend, yet Duan Changfeng had forged evidence for Jiyu Yang. Falsely accusing the Highness of corresponding with him and plotting treason, he did all this only because he could not stand the Highness's gentle and benevolent demeanor. So he schemed painstakingly to drag the flower on the high mountain down from its altar. He wanted the Highness's gaze to fall only on him, no longer able to hold all living beings in his heart, just to satisfy his twisted possessiveness. After Xiao Qi ascended the throne in my past life, the first person he killed was Duan Changfeng. The Duan family had been marquises for generations, with deep roots in the court. Now, without the Grand Tutor and Xiaozhe colluding with him from within, and after Miaofar's nirvana, I had succeeded him as national master and cultivated my own power in the palace. Yet moving against Duan Changfeng was still no easy task. But, when I thought of all the humiliation and trampling the Highness had endured, I could barely restrain the urge to kill him with my own hands at once. Oh, my hand tightened unconsciously, hurting sweet osmanthus cake. It jumped out of my arms in a huff, accusing me with a look of grievance. Just then, someone came hurrying to deliver a message. Duan Changfeng has split off from the army and is returning to the capital by a side road. He has already entered the city gates. The night fell low. I rose abruptly. Duan Changfeng had no bodyguards with him, he had returned alone. And he had snuck back in secret. The opportunity had come. 23. I found Duan Changfeng in the night market. He was accosting a young lady, snatching her lantern and refusing to return it. My palm, wrapped around the dagger, broke out in a light sweat. I took a deep breath. Yunling, I warned myself, if this night's deed succeeds, the Highness will have no more troubles to fear. My time is running out. Taking advantage of the moment he toyed with the young lady, I raised my hand. And a blade slid from my sleeve, flashing through the night. Crack, a dull thud. The sharp edge plunged into his neck. Duan Changfeng's reflexes were too fast, an instinct honed in the face of life and death. His body moved a fraction, shifting his vitals, dodging the strike that should have been fatal. Like a provoked beast, he gripped the blade tightly, letting his palm be cut to a bloody pulp. With his other hand, he fended off 7 or 8 of my accomplices, and in one fluid motion, snapped my right arm, ignoring the siege of the other assassins. His every move was seasoned and ruthless, striking straight for my vitals. The crowd saw blood, and panicked, shoving each other in a frenzy. An assassin, murder, murder, go fetch the officials. In that instant, amidst the bustling crowd, I saw a pair of stunned eyes. Xiao Qi was looking at me, through the black veil covering my face. His gaze seemed to pierce straight into my eyes. Our eyes met for a heartbeat. Then I averted my gaze. The dagger was bent almost to uselessness by Duan Changfeng's grip. Clattering to the ground, I cursed inwardly. Casting all else aside, I leaped and darted into an alley. Duan Changfeng clutched his neck and roared, "Fixated on me tonight." He gave chase. "I will kill you, little brat." The night wind billowed my robes. I caught the heavy stench of blood from the man behind me. Fleeing blindly into the deeper, more derelict alleys, Duan Changfeng had campaigned abroad for years, but I had scurried through the capital's streets and lanes like a rat since childhood. When it came to knowing these alleys, he was no match for me. Soon, after rounding 2 more hidden lanes, Duan Changfeng was completely left behind. I collapsed to my knees, exhausted, clutching my chest, gasping for breath uncontrollably. The fabric at my lower abdomen was soaked with blood. The assassination had failed. I had lost a hand, and a bloody gash marred my body. Duan Changfeng's vigilance had been higher than I expected. I had underestimated him this time. From far away, the glow of torches drew near, the footsteps of many men mingling with the night. The government officials were closing in. I stumbled to my feet. I took just one step forward. From the darkness, a cold voice rang out. The man had chased me all the way here, his breath still ragged. "Stop." My body stiffened. Ignoring the pain any longer, I leaped and ran. "Yunling, dare you?" Xiao Qi's voice was gritted with anger. "If you dare run, I will break your legs when I get back. I mean what I say." I thought, I'm finished. I commit one misdeed, and get caught red-handed. The Highness is truly furious this time. Would he really drag me back and execute me on the spot? I feigned weakness, clutching my lower abdomen, staggering a few steps in Xiao Qi's direction. "Your Highness, it hurts so much." I sized up my target, then suddenly collapsed into his arms. Xiao Qi caught me instinctively. His hand came away covered in blood, and he panicked. "Yunling," I breathed in the elegant palace fragrance on his body, and pretended to faint. "The Highness pities the weak and helpless. Surely he would first take me back to the palace for treatment before questioning me." As for Duan Changfeng, he had not yet revealed his true colors. Killing him would have to wait for a better plan. 24. Duan Changfeng was humiliated to the extreme, hopping with rage, shouting that once the assassin was caught, he would have them torn to shreds. "Archie, tell me, is this not supernatural? That night the whole city was under curfew, the entire capital was turned upside down, and yet, the assassin still got away." Seeing Xiao Qi pay him no heed, Duan Changfeng whined and groaned in pain, acting as if he could not move a muscle, demanding Xiao Qi dress his wounds for him. Xiao Qi lifted his eyes and spoke his first words of the day. "Is your hand broken?" Duan Changfeng studied his expression. "Archie, Did that white tiger you picked up anger you again? What was its name? Poria cake. Xiao Qi let out a cold laugh. Behind a screen, I listened, my heart in my throat. That night, Xiao Qi had bundled me into a carriage, evaded the patrols, and brought me back to the palace. He sat me down by the lamp, and when he saw my sorry state, covered in blood, he could barely contain his fury. 2 lifetimes. This was the first time I had seen him so angry. He asked why I had done it. I said because I had a grudge against Duan Changfeng. What grudge? A blood feud. Xiao Qi could get no more words out of me, so he simply locked me in a side palace to heal my wounds, letting Duan Changfeng rage helplessly. Unable to find the assassin, I could not fathom what Xiao Qi was thinking. As soon as Duan Changfeng left, I slipped out from behind the screen. Your Highness, I coughed lightly, guilty. Matters pile up at the star-picking pavilion. I must return. Before Xiao Qi could speak, I turned and fled. Yunling, dare you? Again with those words, I sighed inwardly. Your Highness, there is nothing I dare not do. My courage is far greater than you think. Yet I obediently came to a halt. A crimson sleeve fell before my eyes. Your Highness, I looked up at him, enunciating each word clearly. You cannot stop me. I would kill Duan Changfeng, no matter what, seeing me so unyielding. Xiao Qi was infuriated. The Duan family has been marquises for generations, their merits outweighing the sovereign. Duan Changfeng is the old marquis's only son. To assassinate him in public, are you courting death? If you are caught, how many heads do you have to spare? So he was afraid I would be caught. I said earnestly, do not worry, Your Highness, if I am caught, I will destroy my own face. I will never implicate the Eastern Palace. You, Xiao Qi was beside himself with anger. That is not what I mean. I frowned slightly. Then what did he mean? Xiao Qi stared at me for a long time, and finally relented. I only worry. These days, I cannot stop thinking about that night. His voice trembled, growing almost inaudible. If I had been a moment later, would I have still been able to see you? The whole city was under curfew, government soldiers blocking every street and alley, ready to catch the prey in a trap. Could I really have escaped? The always fearless Highness, in this moment, was filled with dread. So it was, he did not blame me for wanting to kill his friend. I lowered my head dumbly, daring not to meet his eyes. Yunling promises Your Highness, from now on, I will not take such risks. I had been too reckless. Your Highness, do not be sad. 25. Summer faded into autumn. My wounds were mostly healed. The case of Duan Changfeng's assassination attempt was closed, unsolved, for the assassin could not be found. In the blink of an eye, it was the autumn hunt on White Egret Mountain. Xiao Qi, dressed in black tight-fitting martial robes, shot an arrow straight into the bullseye, taking first place. The hall erupted in cheers. Qin Wn smiled and handed him a handkerchief. Your Highness, wipe your sweat, rest a while, for this autumn hunt. The Empress had specially told her to come, even having her tent pitched right next to Xiao Qi's. Xiao Qi declined politely, pulling out another old brocade handkerchief from his sleeve. I stared at that handkerchief, thinking it looked awfully familiar. Qin Wn saw the pattern on it, and her tense face suddenly relaxed. This rooster on the handkerchief is embroidered by Your Highness himself, is it not? Does Your Highness like this pattern? Another day, this subject's daughter will embroider another one for Your Highness. The corner of Xiao Qi's eye twitched. He muttered, this is a phoenix. I closed my eyes in despair. This handkerchief was a birthday gift Xiao Qi had pestered me for years ago. I was skilled at killing and stealing, but when it came to embroidery, my stitches were crooked and ugly, barely bearable to look at. Seeing the atmosphere turn awkward, I coughed lightly, about to smooth things over, when a frivolous voice suddenly rang out beside me. Pay no heed to the Highness, he has always been so unromantic. If the Highness will not take it, Miss Qin, why not give one to me? Duan Changfeng stood with his arms crossed, having watched from the sidelines who knew how long. His gaze swept over us with a smile. The divine maiden has such skillful hands. I wonder if you have ever done needlework for the Highness. Qin Wn laughed when she heard this. Marquis, watch your words. How could the divine maiden sully her hands with such mortal trivialities? Duan Changfeng smiled, not unkindly. I hope the divine maiden is truly as untainted as the dust, otherwise, would she not be a fraud, deceiving the world and misleading the masses? His words were hostile, loaded with meaning. Xiao Qi frowned and cut in. The divine maiden is appointed by my father the emperor. How dare you speak of her so recklessly? I met Duan Changfeng's gaze and saw the mockery and derision in his eyes. What does the Marquis wish to say? Duan Changfeng laughed. The divine maiden can read the stars by night. Surely her eyesight is extraordinary. Hitting a target 100 paces away would be child's play for her. Dare you compete with me in archery? Xiao Qi tried to stop me, but I held him back. He dared to challenge me in public like this. Surely he knew something, and he had come prepared, rather than retreat. It would be better to see what he was up to. Duan Changfeng smiled triumphantly. If the divine maiden cannot defeat a mere mortal like me, then these stargazing eyes of hers are nothing but a hollow title, are they not? So that was his game. I smiled and retorted. I have heard the Marquis can shoot down an enemy general's head from among 10,000 troops, winning meritorious service at a young age. If you lose to me, then these eagle eyes of yours are nothing but an empty boast, are they not? I wonder how much of those countless war achievements are real, and how much are fake. Duan Changfeng's face turned livid in an instant. Is the divine maiden so certain she can beat me? No, I believe in the highness. I turned my eyes to Xiao Qi, whose face was like thunder. I know nothing of archery. I beg the highness to teach me. 26. The warm chest of the young man pressed against my back. His head rested on my shoulder, adjusting my posture. Press your front shoulder down firmly. His hands covered mine, guiding me to draw the bowstring, knock the arrow and draw empty. His breath was close to my ear, a little hoarse. The moment I released my grip, I suddenly looked up, at his earnest profile. This scene was familiar. In my past life, 1 year, the highness had taught me archery, speaking the very same words, but back then, he was too ill to stand, wrapped in a heavy cloak, sitting not far away, instructing me on how to stand and twist my wrist. In my memories, I had drawn the bow, feigning experience, and shot that arrow the same way. For a moment, I was in a daze, a flash of silver, and the arrowhead sank straight into the bullseye. Xiao Qi was still a young man at heart. Seeing me shoot so well on my first try, he was over the moon, his eyes shining with delight. He exclaimed, "You shoot wonderfully." In my memories, that arrow I shot had flown crooked, not even hitting the target. The highness had been amused to laughter, laughing. He could not help but cough, a touch of sadness in his eyes. If only my body were a little better, I could teach you hand in hand. But still, you shoot wonderfully. He had looked up at me, his gaze infinitely gentle. Ailing is my most gifted student. Back then, I had always thought the highness was comforting me. Someone who could shoot an arrow and miss entirely, how could they be gifted? Later, I learned he had not lied to me. In his life, the highness had only ever taught one person archery. As his only student, I was naturally his most gifted. Across past and present lives, a similar scene, the same words. I held back my tears and whispered, because the highness is such a good teacher. I am not the best student, but the highness is the best teacher. Duan Changfeng watched coldly, twirling a heavy bow impatiently, and began to speak with sarcasm. So, the divine maiden has learned archery just like that. If you lose later, do not say I bullied you. Why not divine your fortune for yourself? See what your chances of winning are today. I made no comment. I have already divined it. Duan Changfeng froze. What? Before he could finish, I had already chosen a bow, and turned to smile at him. 10 out of 10. Beating you is more than enough. This was the archery the highness had taught me. I would never lose. 27. Duan Changfeng narked, drew, and released his arrows in one fluid motion. 3 white-feathered arrows struck the bullseye one after another. The crowd cheered. Duan Changfeng raised an eyebrow disdainfully, and made a gesture of invitation to me. I glanced at him, and narked 3 feathered arrows onto the string at once. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Even the young Marquis only shoots 1 arrow at a time. This divine maiden is far too conceited. Looking at her, she probably can't even draw the bow. I think she's just panicking. Duan Changfeng crossed his arms and scoffed, overestimating your own abilities. I stared into the distance. But my mind was filled with the gentle look of the Highness on his sickbed. He had said, "Ailing is my most gifted student." The Highness was proficient in the 6 arts, and especially excellent in horseback archery. In his youth, he had shot a tiger dead with a single arrow. He was the most renowned young genius in the capital. I thought, "Teacher, I have not disgraced your name. For these words of yours, I honed my archery to perfection in my past life, though I could not shoot a tiger dead. I could hit a willow leaf 100 paces away with ease. I was no longer the little girl who could shoot an arrow and miss entirely." The bow was drawn into a full moon, a sharp whistle rang out, and the 3 white feathered arrows flew off the string. One struck the bullseye, piercing the narrow gap between Duan Changfeng's 3 arrows. One hit a wild fruit on a distant tree, dead center, without the slightest deviation. The last one grazed Duan Changfeng's head and nailed itself into the tree trunk, sending a shower of green leaves fluttering down. Silence fell over the crowd. Xiao Qi stared at me in astonishment. Duan Changfeng's face was dark, but he still stubbornly refused to admit defeat. The rule of the contest is to hit the target. The one with more arrows on the target wins. Even if you shoot at my head, there's only 1 arrow on the target. What use is that? I smiled, a vague, meaningful smile. In the next moment, a gasp went up from the crowd. Duan Changfeng looked up in stunned disbelief. On the target, only my single feathered arrow remained. The force of that one shot had actually shaken his 3 arrows clean off the target. I met Xiao Qi's eyes, and smiled softly. "Thank you for your concession, young Marquis." 28. The moon shone bright and clear. I sat by the candlelight, pondering how to embroider a somewhat decent phoenix. An uninvited guest entered the tent. A flash of cold steel cut across my vision, striking straight for my neck. Instinct took over. I leaned back to dodge, then spun around, and stabbed backward with the dagger hidden in my sleeve. In the blink of an eye, we had exchanged 7 or 8 blows, until he pinned me to the edge of the couch. I flicked off the black veil covering his face. "It's you." Duan Changfeng's thumb brushed the corner of my eye. "Miss Qin was right. It was indeed you that night. Divine Maiden, you've made me search long and hard." Qin Wn. It dawned on me. I had not been seen only by Xiao Qi that night. Qin Wn, who had chased after us later, had seen me too. If she had not informed on me, Duan Changfeng would never have suspected me. In the next moment, he grunted in pain, and was forced to step back. I pulled the dagger out of his lower abdomen. Blood splattered everywhere, dripping down and staining the newly embroidered brocade handkerchief. "TSK." I frowned in disgust, and grabbed Duan Changfeng's hand. Duan Changfeng licked his lips. "What, is the Divine Maiden scared now? Beg me." His smile was frivolous. "Beg me until I'm in a good mood, and I might just let you go." His playful gaze fell on my loose collar, torn open in our fight. I caught my breath, and shouted toward the outside of the tent. "Help, an assassin!" Duan Changfeng froze, then laughed a strange, mocking laugh. "No one will come to save you." He simply flung open the tent flap without a care. As he had said, not a single patrolling guard was in sight. The Emperor was attacked. All the guards have gone to protect him. Who do you think will come for you? In a split second, my pupils constricted, and I understood the implication of his words. "How dare you?" He laughed, his ambition blazing openly in his eyes. "What do I not dare to do? But I won't kill you for now. Aren't you the Divine Maiden? I'm immensely looking forward to the day we drag you down from your altar." I frowned. "We," Duan Changfeng clicked his tongue. "If he knew you'd forgotten him just like that, he'd probably hate you to the point of madness. You've offended more people than just me." 29. I hurried to the main tent, and finally understood what Duan Changfeng had meant. The Emperor had been assassinated, in the nick of time. Someone had thrown themselves in front of him to take the blade. The second prince, Xiaozhe. Years had passed, and he had grown into a young man. His features were deep and gloomy, not a trace of his former childishness left in his eyes. He did not even wait for his bleeding wound to be bandaged. Tears streaming down his face, he confessed his sins. These past few years in the cold palace, he had reflected on his misdeeds day and night, consumed by regret. For this autumn hunt, he had begged Duan Changfeng to let him come along, disguised as a servant of the Duan family, only to catch one more glimpse of his father the emperor and his elder brother the crown prince. He did not ask to atone for his crimes with merit, he only begged the emperor not to refuse to see him. Blood soaked his robes in large patches. It was all a self-directed farce, a ploy to gain sympathy. The emperor sighed, his eyes filled only with pity. You were still young back then. Easily misled by Avilders. If your repentance is sincere, then all is well. Xiaozhe thanked him, his face overflowing with gratitude, as obedient as could be. Only I saw it. As he stood up, he curved his lips in my direction, his sharp tiger teeth bared, like a beast showing its fangs. I saw the madness in his eyes, and read his lips. Sister Divine Maiden, how have you been? Beside me, Xiao Qi silently blocked his gaze. He looked up, and met my confused eyes. I was a little lost. Xiao Qi's voice was calm. Tonight, the moment you walked in, you kept staring at him. I blinked blankly. Yes. Xiao Qi's expression changed, his face darkening. He spoke coldly to Xiaozhe. The Divine Maiden is busy. She does not see idle people on ordinary days. If you wish to catch up, you may come to me instead. Xiaozhe's smile was sickly sweet. That would be perfect. 30. The relationship between Xiaozhe and Duan Changfeng was not as simple as I had thought. Perhaps they had struck some kind of deal. Xiaozhe had no power or influence now. What on earth did Duan Changfeng see in him? To be willing to help him, to form an alliance with him. Today was the final day of the autumn hunt. Unexpectedly, it was calm and uneventful. Right now, Xiao Qi had chased a wild fox into the mountain forest. Ever since the first day he entered the mountains, he had been set on hunting a soft fox pelt. The guards beside him grew fewer and fewer. I pressed my lips together and urged my horse to chase after him. The moment I entered the forest, disaster struck. A cold arrow, tipped with a glint of poison, shot out from the darkness without warning. Xiao Qi spun around, and the arrow whizzed past him. We had just let out a breath of relief, when I saw Xiao Qi's pupils constrict, ailing. Dozens of cold arrows shot straight for me at once. That first arrow had only been a feint. This time, I was the target. The leaves rustled, and I saw countless black-cloaked assassins hiding in the trees. I gritted my teeth. Your Highness, run. Xiao Qi said nothing, raised his hand, and loosed 3 more arrows. The assassins lying in ambush behind me fell to the ground, screaming in pain. A smoke bomb exploded in the air. In the chaos, Xiao Qi and I were separated. Seeing that all the assassins were after me, I darted deeper into the forest. The terrain was complex. Perhaps there was still a glimmer of hope for survival, but ahead, I saw a broken cliff, and a familiar figure standing there. Duan Changfeng had just stuffed a wild badger into the side pouch at the back of his horse. The pursuers were close behind. I reined in my horse, and looked at Duan Changfeng, who turned around in stunned surprise. His face was filled with terror. What are you going to do, Ua? Without a second thought, I charged forward, and sent Duan Changfeng tumbling off the cliff with me. As we fell rapidly downward, I clung tightly to his lapels, pinning him beneath me, ensuring that he would be the first to hit the ground. Duan Changfeng struggled furiously, trying to pry my hands off him. You're crazy. I sank my teeth into the back of his hand hard. He yelped in pain and let go. I thought, if I am to die here today, I will take one of them with me. It is not a loss. 31. Beneath the broken cliff, the trees jutted out in a jumble of branches and twigs. Good news, I had not fallen to my death. Bad news. Duan Changfeng had not fallen to his death either. This was the 3rd day we had been trapped at the bottom of the valley. Duan Changfeng sat in the corner of the cave, his face black and blue. His face had been scratched by small tree branches. Sensing my gaze, he looked up warily. What are you plotting now? Last night, while he was fast asleep, I had covered his mouth and nose tightly with my clothes. Unfortunately, I had failed. His struggles were too powerful, and he had thrown me to the ground. So this morning, he had been staring at me like this ever since. I sneered. You'd better keep your eyes open when you sleep tonight. I touched my neck, where faint bruises still lingered, the marks left by his attempt to strangle me the day before yesterday. But he had failed too. I still had a hairpin hidden in my sleeve. I had stabbed it hard into the back of his neck, forcing him to release his grip. These past few days, He and I had been trying to kill each other at every turn. Duan Changfeng scratched his head in frustration. I told you, I had nothing to do with those assassins this time. It was that brat Xiaozhe, who couldn't hold himself back any longer, and ordered them to kill you. His expression did not seem to be a lie. I asked casually. So what exactly do you see in Xiaozhe, to form an alliance with him, because he's easy to control? Duan Changfeng smiled a vague, meaningful smile. A prince with no power or influence, what else can he do but cling to me? In that moment, I saw his ambition clearly. The Duan family's merits overshadowed the sovereign. How could they be content to be mere ministers? He intended to install a puppet emperor. But Xiaozhe was not as easy to control as he thought. In my past life, after Xiaozhe had seized the throne successfully, he had secretly sown discord among the military generals. By the time Duan Changfeng had come to his senses, he had barely any military power left, and had no choice but to flee in panic back to the northern frontier. The first step of the Highness's road to revenge in my past life had been to settle accounts with Duan Changfeng, the weakest of his enemies, to use his blood to consecrate the military flag. I did not show my thoughts on my face. Only saying, then you'd better watch your back, young Marquis. Puppets bite the hand that feeds them. Duan Changfeng scoffed. Him, please, he was far too conceited. I pretended to mention it in passing. So you really had no idea about the assassins he hired this time. Xiaozhe had indeed been far too reckless this time. Even if he hated me with all his heart, he should not have dared to kill me so openly at this time. The one thing Duan Changfeng could not tolerate was insubordination and acting on one's own will. It seemed that the years in the cold palace had addled Xiaozhe's wits. The man before me's face darkened. I thought, it's done. Once the seed of suspicion is sown, it is only a matter of time before it grows into a towering tree. I will turn them against each other. Then, I will divide them and destroy them. 32. The forest beneath the cliff is shrouded in thick mist all year round. I searched for a way out time and again, only to circle back to the cave entrance in the end. This is the 7th day we've been trapped at the bottom of the valley. Stop wasting your energy. Duan Changfeng lifts his eyelids. If you're so eager to die, I might as well strangle you and vent my anger. He used his last smoke signal for help just now, yet not a single rescuer is in sight. His mood is foul. I sneer. In my eyes, you and Xiaozhe are birds of a feather. If Xiaozhe harms me, it's the same as you harming me. It makes no difference which one of you I take revenge on. Duan Changfeng flies into a rage. You woman, how can you be so unreasonable? I laugh in bitter fury. If you have the guts, kill Xiaozhe, and I'll let you go. Duan Changfeng seems to consider the proposal seriously. Truly, I put on the most innocent look I can muster. Naturally, it's a lie. I will get rid of both of them. It's only a matter of time. 33. Before I know it, night falls. These days have been fraught with anxiety and overthinking. I suddenly break out in a violent fever. In my dreams, I am back in those days at the Spring Breeze Tower. By then, I had learned Fongling's true identity, the once proud son of heaven, fallen into the mire overnight. I am overwhelmed with shock and confusion. The Highness lowers his eyes calmly, his expression hidden in the daylight. He says that staying by his side is dangerous, that many people hate him, that I might lose my life one day. If I leave now, he will not blame me. What did I say back then? I said I would stand by his side, serve him faithfully, until death do us part. Later, I carried the Highness's handwritten letter and traveled far and wide, contacting his former loyal followers. One day, I made contact with the former leader of the Eastern Palace's hidden guards. He too was searching for the Highness. We all lay low in the shadows, waiting for the Highness's return. I rush back in excitement, eager to tell him this wonderful news. Then I notice the door to his room is ajar. A faint whiff of blood drifts into my nose. I burst in, yet I freeze at the last screen. I see a shadow reflected on it. A man has pinned the Highness beneath him. The Highness clutches a golden hairpin, stabbing it hard into the back of the man's neck. Once, twice. The man is dead beyond doubt, ailing. But the Highness's shadow is trembling. His voice is almost a plea. He says, "Don't look." Many years later, on the snowy night, the Highness slits his own throat. For the first time in a long while, I see that same look on his face again. Ailing, I'm so dirty. Don't look. In the dream, my heart feels as if it's being crumpled into a ball by a giant hand. The pain is almost suffocating. No. The instinct to survive jolts me awake. I lock eyes with Duan Changfeng's cold gaze. He is clutching my neck tightly, resorting to the same trick again, trying to kill me. Duan Changfeng smirks. I thought all night. And decided I'd kill you first, then deal with Xiaozhe. You're too much of a wild card. I can't trust you. The hand around my neck tightens further, my face turns ashen, my struggles growing weaker by the second. I force my pupils to focus, and finally see, behind Duan Changfeng, a black shadow pounces straight at him. A long, mournful wolf howl echoes through the air. 34. Duan Changfeng is struck hard in the back. Forced to release my neck, he stares at the intruder, shocked and enraged. Who are you? The man does not answer. Stepping straight in front of me, he speaks in a strange, stilted tone. Alive. I cough violently, my vision clearing little by little. He is a rather wild-looking youth, bare-chested, with only a strip of animal hide wrapped around his waist. Long, curly black hair cascades down his back, almost reaching his bare ankles. And this youth has a pair of beast-like, amber eyes, so strange, so familiar. I gasp in shock. Ashuo. Even in this ragged state. I recognize him. The man before me is the former leader of the Eastern Palace's hidden guards from my past life, my old comrade in arms. But why is he naked? The youth tilts his head in confusion, straining to understand my words. He suddenly stands up, grabbing the hem of my sleeve and tugging me outside. Duan Changfeng stares, bewildered and suspicious. You know him. I make no reply, shooting him a fierce glare. You'll pay for this. After winding through countless twists and turns, Ashuo leads me into another cave. On a stone platform lie two emaciated wolf corpses. I once heard a legend of a mother wolf snatching an abandoned infant and raising him as her own cub. When the infant grows up, he takes on the habits of a wolf. Unable to speak human language, the world calls such a child a wolf boy. My gaze falls on Ashuo, rummaging through something in the corner. So this is the origin of my former comrade, the cold, silent man who fought fiercely in my past life. I wonder how the Highness managed to take him in. Ashuo rummages through the dry grass for a long time, finally finding what he is looking for. He places it in my hands with the utmost care. It is an old silk pouch. The embroidery is just as clumsy as mine. The fabric, however, is fine, somewhat similar to the new style imported to the Eastern Palace this year. I open it and shake it out. Inside are some unfamiliar herbs, dried up completely. What is this? Ashuo points at me, then stammers, repay, kindness. I think this pouch must be connected to the Eastern Palace. He smelled a familiar scent on me, so he followed me. I piece the clues together, reaching a vague conclusion. Someone from the Eastern Palace once saved Ashuo, leaving this pouch behind. I have entered and left the Eastern Palace all year round, picking up a similar scent. Ashuo detected it, and wants to follow me back to the Eastern Palace to repay his debt of gratitude. Lost in thought, I hear Ashuo form a complete sentence. Name, he says. I follow you. I pause, slightly stunned. Then your name will be Ashuo. Ashuo stares at me, wanting to know why. I have a sudden inspiration, because today is the first day of the lunar month, in my past life. Ashuo was taken in by the Highness. Naturally, the Highness gave him this name. I do not know its meaning, so I have to make it up. Ashuo, I whisper, I am Yunling. Will you come back to the Eastern Palace with me, and protect the Highness together? Just like in my past life, we will follow the Highness side by side. Be his shield, and the sharpest blade in his hand. 35. When we return to the cave, Duan Changfeng is nowhere to be seen. He failed to kill me tonight. And saw that I have gained an ally. Afraid of my revenge, he has naturally fled in the night. My forehead is still burning with fever. Seeing Ashuo standing guard at the cave entrance, I drift off into a drowsy sleep. I am roused by a rough, wet sensation on my palm. I look up to see Ashuo kneeling before me. Licking my palm, there is a deep, bone-deep gash there. The weather has been sweltering these days, and it just won't heal. Ashuo, I exclaim, what are you doing? In the next moment, I watch as he spits out a mouthful of green, mushy grass. He smooths it over my palm. He was applying medicine. I close my eyes, at a loss for words, trying to pull my hand back. Wound. Ashuo stares at me persistently. Die. He buries his head, continuing to laboriously apply the medicine. I think in despair, a child raised among wolves really does inherit wolfish habits. In my past life, how on earth did the Highness teach him to be such a stiff, old-fashioned person? 36, that night. My fever flares up again. In my delirium, I keep dreaming of the Highness from the past, pale, gaunt, wasted away by illness, living a life of wandering and suffering. In a haze, I hear footsteps again. Ashuo has been scurrying about anxiously all night. In the end, he leaves to look for grass, glancing back every step of the way. Surely, it's him who has come back. I open my eyes, suspecting I am hallucinating. Otherwise, how could I be seeing the young Highness? He stares at me. His face filled with worry, not a trace of the pale, sickly look from my dreams. There are grass leaves in his hair, and he looks a little tired, yet he is dressed in bright red, his youthful vitality impossible to conceal. The old madam of the Spring Breeze Tower used to love dressing Fongling in red too, sheer silk, ostentatious and decadent, but it was shoddily made, leaving itchy, bleeding hives on his skin. Tears suddenly stream down my face. This is how it should be. This is how the young Highness ought to look. The young Highness ought to wear such luxurious, soft red robes. Seeing me cry, the young Highness before me panics a little. Ailing, he wipes my tears clumsily. I think, thank heaven, this dream is so real. Young Highness, I whisper, may I hug you? As soon as the words leave my mouth, I laugh at myself bitterly. Of course it's only in a dream that I dare to make such an presumptuous request. The young Highness freezes for a moment. Before he can reply, I lift my hands and wrap them gently around him, cherishing the moment. I dare not hold him too tight. I think, since this is a dream, let me indulge myself just this once. 37. After returning from the autumn hunt, Nanjiao presents the Emperor with another peerless beauty. She charms the Emperor completely, and he stays with her every night, unable to tear himself away. In just half a month, she is promoted to the rank of consort, with the title Jeune. I secretly send people to investigate Consort Jeune's background. I discover she was a close friend of noble Lady Rong in her maiden days. She entered the palace, presumably for the sake of this old friend's son. First, Duan Changfeng befriends Xiao Zhe. Then, Consort Jeune monopolizes the Emperor's favor. The Empress smells something amiss. She urges the Highness to marry the Crown Princess, to gain allies and support. One day, I am summoned to the Phoenix Grace Palace. As soon as I enter the hall, I see the Empress curtsy deeply to me. I am stunned, hurrying to help her up. Your Majesty, this is... The Empress cuts me off. All these years, the divine maiden's face remains unchanged, yet fine lines have appeared at the corners of my eyes. I do not understand her meaning. The Empress speaks softly. I have not forgotten the divine maiden's great kindness for a single day, but mortal lives are short, 100 years in the blink of an eye. I beg the divine maiden, let him go. There is no need to say who the him in her words refers to. My mind goes blank. I even forget to breathe. I think the Empress has seen my selfish feelings for the Highness. The way I look at him is not pure. I suddenly feel ashamed, averting my eyes, daring not to look at the Empress. Very well, I flee almost in panic. Yet I bump into Qin Wn at the palace gate, who has come to pay her respects to the Empress. Her face is filled with worry. Why is the divine maiden's face so pale? Could it be that Her Majesty the Empress reprimanded you? 38. I lift my eyebrows coldly. Miss Qin, watch your words. To speak frivolously of the Empress is to court the Emperor's punishment. You, Qin Wn stamps her foot in anger. You dare threaten me. I will tell Her Majesty the Empress. My mind is elsewhere, and I wave a hand in dismissal. Excuse me. 39. Before the star-picking pavilion, I catch sight of a figure peeking furtively from afar. I pause mid-step, and turn around unhurriedly. Do not leave. The Highness chases after me in 3 large strides. Just like when we were young, he tugs at the hem of my sleeve, like an abandoned little beast, wronged and confused. Why are you avoiding me? I lower my eyes, and only speak softly. Your Highness, you have overstepped your bounds. Taking advantage of his stunned silence, I pull my sleeve free from his hand. Inch by inch, I curtsy, and turn to leave. Ailing, I harden my heart, and pretend not to hear, yet I hear him ask, his voice thick with grievance, Ailing, where is my sachet? After returning from the autumn hunt, I learned that night was not a dream, that the Highness had truly come. Recalling my disrespectful act that night, I braced myself for his anger or estrangement. I never expected him to grow even closer to me. He has pestered me for days, insisting I make him a sachet. What the Highness wants, he must have the very best. I chose the most fashionable brocade from the Eastern Palace's treasury, and learned embroidery stitches from the palace seamstresses. I stayed up for several nights, and finally finished it only to be summoned by the Empress. So it has been hidden in my sleeve all this time, never given to him. I avert my eyes, my voice tight, I'm sorry. I forgot. Behind me, the young man's persistent voice rings out. Then do you remember that you promised to accompany me to the lantern fair tonight? I do not stop walking, and do not look back. I'm sorry. 40. I lied to the Highness. I am going to the lantern fair after all, just not with him. Only because today is the anniversary of the Highness's death in my past life. The Highness was born into luxury, a young man in fine clothes on a gallant steed, who loved bright lanterns, fireworks, and all the bustle of the world. Such a man, yet he died on a cold, deep snowy night, so I want to pick the very best lantern for him. I do see such a lantern, painted with a phoenix pattern on the paper, with a fine gauze layer on the outside, soft and hazy. It is hung on the tallest pavilion in the East Market, like a pearl falling into the night. Miss, the lanterns hung on the pavilion are not for sale. The shopkeeper sees me take out my purse, and stops me with a smile. He points to the crowded pavilion in the distance. Compete on the pavilion, whoever wins may take the lantern away. I climb the pavilion, and let out a breath of relief. The contest is archery. Behind me, a delicate female voice suddenly sounds. Divine Maiden, you too have come to the lantern fair. Qin Wn is dressed in a lotus pink RU skirt, holding a rabbit lantern in her arms. Following my gaze, she sees the phoenix lantern, and suddenly lets out a disdainful laugh. It seems the Divine Maiden truly loves phoenixes. She takes a handkerchief from her sleeve, and unfolds it before my eyes. I freeze. It is the very handkerchief I gave the Highness long ago, embroidered with that clumsy phoenix, mistaken for a rooster. I was confused at the hunting ground that day. Everything of the Highness's is surely the very best. How could he have such a shoddily made handkerchief? Now I see. It was embroidered by the Divine Maiden, was it not? I frown. How did it end up in your hands? Qin Wn smiles. Naturally, it was a gift from the Highness. I will be the crown princess in the future. Husband and wife are one. May I not choose any of the Highness's things? She warns me with a smile. Even the Divine Maiden, though a woman of the outside world, ought to know the boundaries between men and women. Once the Highness is married, you may no longer enter and leave the Eastern Palace at will. Behind us, a cold voice suddenly rings out. Since when did I give you a handkerchief? I do not recall. Qin Wn turns around in stunned disbelief. The Highness's eyes are dark and cold, and he lets out a cold laugh. Miss Qin is surely a little too eager. You wish to meddle in the affairs of the Eastern Palace now. Did I give you my permission? Qin Wan's face changes faster than an acrobat's. Tears pool in her eyes, threatening to fall. Prince brother, I did not mean it that way. She quickly changes the subject, invoking the Empress to pressure him. Tonight, Her Majesty the Empress sent me to find you. Over there, the contest calls my turn. I stand up to take the bow. Qin Wn whispers her complaint. Your Highness, Wanwan also wants that lantern. If you win it for me, I will not tell Her Majesty that you left me tonight. Will I? The Highness says nothing. He picks up another bow, and walks to my side. I glance at him. My heart is heavy and clogged. Does the Highness intend to fight me for the lantern? No. He shakes his head earnestly. Half his face is bathed in the lantern light, glowing like warm jade, brighter and purer than the moon in the sky. A young man cannot hide his heart. His affection spills from his eyes, like scattered starlight. The Highness says, "Do you like that carp lantern?" I will win it for you. 41. Holding the phoenix lantern I won, I flee as if my life depends on it, daring not to dwell on the highness's gaze, a dull string in my heart is plucked. My heart hammers wildly in my chest, and an inconceivable wild thought suddenly arises. Could the highness also like me? As soon as the thought forms, I bite my tongue in shock, the taste of blood spreads in my mouth. The gulf between the highness and I is as vast as that between the clouds and the mud. How dare I? I sit down by the moat, the phoenix lantern drifts away on the water, floating gently. This lantern is beautiful, I wonder if the highness from my past life can receive it. My eyes sting. Your highness, I whisper in my heart, I will protect the young highness, let him live in joy and peace, let his life be smooth and unhindered, I swear it. When I open my eyes again, I am shocked by the sight on the water. Behind the phoenix lantern, a chubby carp lantern has appeared out of nowhere, followed by a string of duck lanterns, rabbit lanterns, clam lanterns, bird lanterns, jostling together, a lively crowd. I stare in astonishment, my eyes wide. The young man is out of breath. Wiping the sweat from his brow with the hem of his sleeve, his eyes are bright, his face innocent. I did not know which lantern you liked, so I won them all. The highness flicks the water, and sets down the last lotus lantern. Before I can speak, he cuts me off. Ailing, do not send me away, I just saw you sitting here alone, releasing lanterns, and suddenly felt so sad. He tilts his head, and by the light of the moon, studies the expression on my face. Can you tell me, who are you releasing this lantern for? I lower my eyes, and speak softly. An old friend more important than my own life. The highness falls silent. After a long while, he suddenly speaks, as if explaining himself. I will speak clearly to mother, my heart belongs to someone else. I will not marry Chin Wn. Ailing, I only ask you one thing. The highness looks into my eyes, his voice very soft. Do you have even a little affection for me? He asks the words lightly. Yet I see his hand hidden in his sleeve, clenched into a tight fist. The light in his eyes blazes bright, fierce and unyielding, as if one nod from me, and he would lay his life bare for me, defy the empress, defy the whole world. But your highness, I do not need you to defy anyone for me. I only want to see your life be smooth and unhindered. Your highness, I hear my own voice, floating on the night wind, devoid of all emotion. It is late. Miss Chin is still waiting for you. Meeting the highness's disbelieving gaze, I force a smile. Go back quickly. Your highness, when Ashuo finds me at the star-picking pavilion, I am dead drunk. Who would have thought that Miaofa, who looked so upright and serious on the surface, had hidden so much good wine privately? He never got to drink it, and in the end, it all fell to me. The world spins around me. Ashuo frowns, and lifts me from the ground, cold. I have not seen Ashuo in a long time. As soon as he returned, he volunteered to train in the hidden guard camp. When I asked him why, the young man mumbled, only saying he had lost a fight with the Imperial Army commander. For more than 10 years, he had been undefeated in all the mountains and forests. To be defeated once was a great humiliation indeed. I blink my eyes dazedly. The former wolf boy is now dressed, clean and neat. A black martial robe clings to his broad shoulders and long legs. I hear he has charmed many young palace maids. Ashuo drags me up to the high platform. I tilt my head up. The bright moon hangs high in the sky, yet all I can see is the highness's profile in the lantern light. Do you have even a little affection for me? I open my eyes, and murmur to myself. Ashuo is busy looking for a blanket for me everywhere. He does not hear clearly, and makes a confused sound in his nose. Tears suddenly stream down my face, like the moon. 42. The highness never comes to the star-picking pavilion again. Once, I was the one avoiding him. Now the roles are reversed. He is the one avoiding me. In the palace, rumors gradually spread that the divine maiden and the highness are on bad terms. One day, the eastern palace is decorated with lanterns and streamers. I then learn that the empress has asked a high monk from the great Xianghua temple to match the fortune slips. The highness is to marry the crown princess soon. Every night, I look out from the highest point of the star-picking pavilion. I can always see a faint glimmer of light in the eastern palace. The highness's figure beneath the candlelight. so close, yet so far away. Half a month later, the Nanjiao envoy mission arrives in the capital. At the palace gate, I run into Xiaozhe. He has just finished talking with an envoy, his eyes flicker, and his gaze lands on me. The man speaks with feigned concern. I heard that during the autumn hunt, the divine maiden chased a wild hare and accidentally fell off a cliff. How careless. I glance at the somewhat nervous Nanjiao envoy in the distance, and let out a soft laugh. Word of the second prince colluding with foreign envoys would not sound pleasant, would it? Xiaozhe smiles. Father has appointed me as the master of ceremonies for this occasion, to be in charge of the envoy mission together with the Ministry of Rites. This is official business, how can it be called collusion? He looks at me with a half-smile, and I cannot shake the feeling that he harbors evil intentions. The Nanjiao envoy mission is full of impetuous young men. After watching a polo match, they clamor for a match of their own. There is no shortage of dandies in the capital who are skilled at polo. Yet in the court, Xiaozhe alone recommends the Highness to accept the challenge. There are countless underhanded tricks that can be played on the polo field. Every year, countless people fall from their horses, break their hands, or break their legs in accidents, either dead or maimed. Your Majesty, no, I speak out suddenly. A son of noble birth does not stand beneath a falling hall. Crown Prince His Highness, yet a figure in black silk strides past me. Your son is willing to share father's burdens. A sharp, burning pain suddenly shoots through my wrist. I look at the Highness kneeling beside me, my mind in a daze. Duan Changfeng's gaze flicks between us. 42. Then he also volunteers himself. Your humble general is also willing to share your Majesty's burdens. 43. I know where the burning pain in my wrist comes from. That cinnabar mole has faded again. A premonition of misfortune peaks on the day of the polo match. Before that day, I had arranged for countless hidden guards, anticipated every way the Highness might be harmed. I planned how to stop it, how to protect him. All my plans, the moment I step out of the star-picking pavilion, become useless. The cinnabar mole on my wrist burns like fire. In the next instant, the world spins. I stumble and fall into the snow, startling a dozing young guard. Who's there? A cold spear tip presses against my neck. I look up in a daze, and the young guard jumps in shock. Aunt Yunling. A long unheard title. I glance around, and my gaze freezes. This is the place where the Highness slit his throat in my past life. I am back. As soon as the thought forms, I run madly toward the Weiyang Palace. The young guard exclaims in alarm, Aunt Yunling, you cannot enter, it is too late. 99 eternal lamps burn quietly, illuminating the dim hall as bright as day. The portrait of the Highness after he ascended the throne is enshrined high at the back. I stare up blankly, locking eyes with the man in the painting. He is indifferent, pale, his eyes devoid of joy or sorrow. Tears stream down my face again. Aunt Yunling, the new emperor looks at me with concern. He is the imperial clansman personally chosen by the Highness. I say numbly, this portrait is not well chosen. Where is the portrait of the late emperor when he was crown prince? The new emperor freezes. He looks at my tear-streaked face, my almost insane state, and says with pity, when the late emperor was still in his princely mansion, he was deposed, and all his old belongings were burned to ashes. This is the only portrait left of the late emperor. I ask again, where is the late emperor buried? The new emperor falls silent. I look at the chief eunuch behind him. Speak. The chief eunuch grits his teeth. By the late emperor's last will, his body was to be burned to ashes after his death, and scattered into the rivers. He only wished for his body and soul to be annihilated, to never be human again, for all lifetimes. A thunderclap explodes in my mind. I clutch my chest, and vomit a mouthful of blood with a cry. Tears pour down my face. My heart aches unbearably, yet I cannot make a sound. I kneel on the ground, my whole body convulsing. I realize that the man I love, in the future time and space, has truly, completely turned to dust and smoke. He has no attachment to this life, and will never receive the phoenix lantern I won for him that night. I curl my fingers. What can I grasp? Only the clawing black shadows of the eternal lamps. The new emperor cannot bear to look any longer, and sighs softly. Aunt, please mourn in moderation. The candlelight flickers in my eyes. Growing brighter and brighter, my vision blanches. Yet in an instant, a clear child's voice rings in my ears. Yun Ling, divine maiden, why do you have this name? The young highness, I think, there is still the young highness. The young highness still needs me. But how can I go back? I stagger to my feet, stumbling, trying to return to that snowy field. Yet in the next moment, I lose consciousness. 44. I spend 7 years in the past time. Time turns, and here too, 7 years pass. The palace maids whisper among themselves, saying that Aunt Yunling, who disappeared 7 years ago, has come back. So the first thought when I wake up is, time flows at the same speed, it is too late, I have to hurry back to the polo field, back to the highness's side. I go to the great Xianghua temple, only to learn the fat monk has passed away. A bald monk stands before me, he is the fat monk's disciple, Miaofa's grand disciple. With just one glance, he chants the Buddha's name, benefactor. There are still karmic ties unfulfilled on your body. This was brought by a noble person in the palace, the last peony flower of this spring. I give it to you, to end the karmic ties. Karmic ties? What karmic ties? I say anxiously. I want to go back to the 20th year of Zhaoning. Do you have a way? The bald monk looks me up and down carefully, then suddenly claps his hands and laughs. Interesting, truly interesting. The karmic ties on the benefactor are like a ring, interlocking each other. Yet no one knows where the head is. I freeze. What do you mean? The bald monk does not answer, only smiles. The benefactor once had a karmic connection with my grandmaster. Today, this poor monk will send the benefactor on her way. He slaps my shoulder, and the world spins again. I fall back into the star-picking pavilion. Divine maiden, divine maiden. A palace maid's flustered face comes into clear view. I endure the dizziness, and grab her hand. What time is it now? Is the polo match over? Is Crown Prince His Highness safe? The palace maid looks blank, not knowing why I am so flustered. The polo match is over. Your Highness won first place. She frowns, trying hard to remember. I have not heard that your Highness was injured. I let out a breath of relief. A thought suddenly arises in my heart. Perhaps the Highness no longer needs my protection. My young Highness, before I knew it, has also grown into an adult who can stand on his own. I promised a long time ago that I would protect the Highness until the day he no longer needed it. I never thought that day would come so soon that it fills me with relief and confusion. The burning pain comes again from my wrist. The scenery in front of me starts to sway. I bite my tongue hard, and the taste of blood sobers me up. I lower my eyes. The cinnabar mole has faded again. It is warning me there is no time left. But the enemies from my past life have not yet been dealt with. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. A figure becomes clear in my mind. The maid exclaims in joy, "Divine maiden, are you going to find Crown Prince His Highness?" No, I deny it outright. No, the person I am looking for is someone else. 45. Recently, there have been endless gossip in the palace, saying that Crown Prince His Highness and the Divine Maiden have fallen out. Duan Changfeng has obviously heard a lot of it. He has blocked me at the palace gate several times. Every time he says more or less the same thing, the Highness is going to marry the Crown Princess. Yet I still lack a Marchioness. Do not refuse in such a hurry. With the support of the Duke's mansion, the Highness no longer needs the Divine Maiden. A wise bird chooses the tree it roosts on. If you figure it out, you can come to me at any time. I admire you greatly. We will be the perfect allies for each other. He looks affectionate. As if it were not him who tried to kill me 3 times in the valley under the cliff a few months ago. Every time I tell him to get lost in concise terms. But now, I have no time left. I can only make a quick decision. So this time, it is I who block Duan Changfeng at the palace gate. Seeing me, he raises his eyebrows slightly. Before he can speak in his sarcastic tone, I say quickly, "I agree." Duan Changfeng touches my neck, and smiles. There are still the bruises left by his attempt to strangle me there. A wise man knows the times. If I had known this earlier, why did you have to fight me to the death before? The Highness arrives just in time to see this scene. Yunling, my heart skips a beat. I dodge Duan Changfeng's hand, and look away guiltily. Your Highness. Black silk hem falls before my eyes. The Highness is dressed in arrow-sleeved riding attire today, valiant and heroic. My mind is in a mess. And then I hear the Highness ask, "Why didn't you come to watch my polo match today?" I fall silent, and say in a low voice, "But even without me, your Highness can do very well. I have always known, he is a phoenix soaring in the sky, not a yellow sparrow raised for me. One day, he will break free from my protection and fly to a broader world." Before the Highness can speak again, Duan Changfeng pulls me behind him. "Yunling is my fiancé. Please do not overstep your bounds, Your Highness." 46. Duan Changfeng often summons me to the Marquis mansion, sometimes for discussions, sometimes for casual chat. He calls it drawing close to an ally. The benefits of allying with him soon become apparent. One day, he is looking for an ancient book in his study, and footsteps suddenly sound outside. More than one person. I hide behind the brocade screen instinctively. When Duan Changfeng starts talking to the person, I realize that the person is Xiao Zhe. He has come to discuss treason with Duan Changfeng. He says the emperor has been secretly poisoned by Consort Zhen, his body worn down to the last breath. Nanzhao has already rebelled in secret. The real General Zhennan has long been dead. The one alive now is their imposter. The attendants of the envoy mission that came to the capital this time are all disguised death warriors, each able to fight 100 men. Outside the city, a fine army is secretly stationed. He hopes Duan Changfeng will cooperate with him from the inside and outside. Open the city gate at that time, and let the men in. Second, the Duan family has half a tiger tally. He also wants to gain this support. When he ascends the throne, he will share the world with Duan Changfeng. Duan Changfeng agrees to everything. Only after Xiao Zhe leaves does he speak lazily. "Come out." My heart skips a beat. I step out from behind the brocade screen, pretending to be nonchalant. I was looking for a book. I wave the ancient book in my hand, indicating that I really did not eavesdrop on purpose. Duan Changfeng looks at me leisurely. "You do not really think I will rebel with this fool, do you?" He scoffs. He is courting death himself, and wants to drag me down with him. Utterly foolish. I force a smile and flatter him. The young Marquis is wise. In the next moment, a huge force hits my shoulder. My lower back slams hard into the corner of the table, and I let out a low groan. "You, divine maiden." In the narrow space, Duan Changfeng leans over and pins me firmly in place. "For the alliance, I have shown you my sincerity. What about yours?" His hand presses on my waist sash. I grit my teeth. "Wait." Duan Changfeng looks at me with a half smile. "Does the divine maiden really want to get something for nothing?" I lift my eyes calmly, and spout nonsense with a straight face. "What's the hurry, young Marquis? When you and I become husband and wife, you can share my lifespan. A divine maiden's lifespan is endless. If you do not believe me, just ask someone in the palace. In the past 10 years, has my appearance remained the same? Not a single change." Duan Changfeng swallows his saliva. His resolve wavers faintly. He has taken the bait. I continue to make up lies. But before that, I must burn incense and pray to heaven to announce it. I endure the nausea, and slowly hold the hand on my waist. If we can really gain endless life and eternal power, why be in a hurry for this moment of pleasure? Is that not right, young Marquis? 47. Soon, news spreads in the palace that the emperor is seriously ill. Duan Changfeng receives the signal, and opens the city gate as promised, letting the men in. 47. Xiao Zhe leads his troops and storms into the palace without a hitch. Everything goes suspiciously smoothly, until the palace gates slam shut behind him. Xiao Zhe hears the noise and realizes something is wrong, but it is too late. A vast army surrounds them on all sides. Duan Changfeng sees the Highness leading the troops across from him, turns to look at me, and suddenly smiles. "You sent him the message." I shake my head. It was not me. How could such a big move escape the Highness's eyes? Duan Changfeng draws an O. "If I find out you're two-faced, I will never spare you." The Highness's eyes sweep over us indifferently. "Marquis Duan the Young. Now is not the time to squabble over merits," he says coldly. "Putting down the rebellion is the urgent matter at hand." I curl my fingers and look away. The rebel army is crushed completely before it can even stir up a storm. I catch the fleeing Xiao Zhe in the cold palace. The desolate palace that almost trapped him for his entire youth. When he is cornered, he chooses to return here. Did you really think I could not find you? I hold a long sword and stare at the disheveled Xiaozhe. He clutches the bleeding gash in his abdomen. You hate me this much. I lift his chin with the tip of my sword. Do you remember what I said to you 7 years ago? If you refuse to live in ignominy, killing you is nothing to me. I have always kept my promises. Xiaozhe's blood is nearly drained. His eyes grow maniacal. I am just unwilling. In wisdom and martial arts, where am I inferior to Xiao Qi? But father will never let the son of a barbarian woman ascend the throne. He slumps against the overgrown stone bricks, coughing violently in his agitation. So from the start, I never had the right to fight for the throne, no matter how well I did, no matter how much the Grand Tutor praised me. Father never spared me a second glance. But why does Xiao Qi have everything I begged for in vain? Tell me, should I not hate him? I tilt my head. What does your resentment have to do with me? Kill whoever wronged you, but the Highness has never wronged you in the slightest. You had no right to trample on someone else's sincere heart, I say coldly. Besides, you are not as smart as you think you are. Just look at this rebellion, its planning is laughably shoddy. Do not even say you are equal to the Highness in wisdom and martial arts. You dare to say it, and I am embarrassed to hear it. You are truly arrogant and worthless. Xiaozhe chokes on a mouthful of blood in rage. A flash of cold sword light pierces his throat. It should have ended long ago. 48. The emperor remains bedridden. A Buddhist ritual is to be held in the palace to pray for his recovery, and I am ordered to choose an auspicious day and preside over the ceremony. These days, the cinnabar mole on my wrist has faded almost to invisibility. My mind is always in a daze, and I feel I will be sent back to the future at any moment. There is no time left. A voice reminds me over and over in my heart. No time left. That night, I stand on a high platform and watch the clouds, staring at the sky. A plan suddenly takes shape in my mind. The next day, I go to the Marquis mansion. Duan Changfeng is incredulous when he hears my request. You mean, you want me to perform a sword dance on the altar during the prayer ceremony? I nod with a straight face. First, the emperor's serious illness is due to evil qi invading his body. The young Marquis is valiant and brave. You will surely dispel the evil and protect the imperial body. Second, young Marquis, do you remember what I said earlier? If you and I are to become husband and wife and share eternal life, we must first pray to heaven and the gods to announce it. Duan Changfeng is elated by my flattery and agrees at once. He agrees so readily, and I naturally must repay him. His sword broke during the rebellion suppression, so I prepare to give him a fine sword to use for his dance on the altar. Yet the date of the ceremony is delayed again and again. The chief eunuch by the emperor's side comes to urge me several times. And each time, I send him away with vague, mystical words. I choose Chaoga Mountain on the outskirts of the capital as the venue. I observe the celestial phenomena every night, determined to pick the perfect auspicious day. The tributes, the auspicious robes, the altar, all are ready. Everything is in place, waiting only for the auspicious day I speak of. Finally, one evening, I send a message to the heart-nourishing palace. Tomorrow is the day. I rub my sore eyes and walk down the star-picking pavilion, only to find the Highness, dead drunk, sitting there. He hears the noise and burrows his head into my arms. Do not leave. It seems he has been lying in wait for a long time. I stop obediently, and hear him mumble in a aggrieved tone. Today is my birthday. I waited for you on the pavilion for a long time. You did not come. I am stunned, busy observing the celestial phenomena these days. I actually forgot his birthday, before I can speak. The Highness cuts me off in a muffled voice. I do not want to hear I'm sorry. Silence falls between us. This is the Highness's 17th birthday. In my past life, this was the year he fell from grace, betrayed, deposed, trampled on. But not now, not in this life, never again. The Highness in my arms closes his eyes, as if drunk unconscious. I quietly summon a palace maid, about to send the Highness back, when he whispers, "Ailing, he is not asleep." I say softly, "I am here, do not go with him." "Okay, I can give you anything you want. Do not do this, make a pact with the devil." I say nothing. Almost there, Your Highness. I think in my heart, soon, everything will be over. 49. The day of the prayer ceremony is a clear, cloudless day. I pray on the high platform of Chaoga Mountain. Duan Changfeng, clad in silver armor from head to toe, wields the heavy black greatsword with great momentum. Everyone kneels prostrate on the ground, everyone except the Highness, who frowns and stares at the sky in the distance. All the chaos unfolds at that moment. A thick black cloud suddenly appears in the sky far away. Boom! A thunderclap explodes in everyone's ears. Rain pours down without a breath of wind. A terrified voice suddenly rings out from the crowd below. What is wrong with Marquis Duan the Young? Duan Changfeng, who was dancing with the sword just a moment ago, falls to the ground, convulsing all over. Wispy black smoke curls up from his body. The sword I had painstakingly found for him is split in two. I feign panic. Young Marquis, what is wrong with you? Duan Changfeng's hair stands on end. He stares at me with wide, furious eyes. You dare? I turn my face away and smile at him softly. I dare. I have never forgotten the blood feud between us, not for a single day. I turn around, drop to my knees in feigned terror, and cry out, thunder in broad daylight, this is divine punishment. The men I placed in the crowd drop to their knees at once, kowtowing in panic with me, beg the gods to calm their anger. Beg the gods to calm their anger. More and more people are swept up in the frenzy. Some members of the Duan clan, shocked and enraged, voice their doubts. Divine Maiden, is this the auspicious day you chose? Yet this faint voice of doubt is quickly drowned out by more cries of repentance. The heavy rain soaks me to the bone, strands of hair stick to my cheeks as I look up at the sky. Heaven remains silent. In that fleeting glance, I see the Highness's expression. He is saying, you are crazy. How could I not know? With everyone watching, Duan Changfeng is dead, and I am inexcusable. I have no time left. I could have chosen 100 other ways, slow, subtle. Killing without a trace, no need to take such a risk, but I have no time left. A sudden thought crosses my mind. The disciple outshines the master, leading to the master's ruin. I once taught him to read the clouds and predict the rain. Among all the people here, only he noticed the celestial phenomenon this time. But none of this matters anymore. I lower my eyes. The cinnabar mole on my wrist has disappeared completely. All the jackals and tigers blocking his path are dead, in this life. He will never shed a tear again. 50. The Duan clan has no intention of letting me live through the day. They cannot wait to go down the mountain and kill me in the chaos. The auspicious robe is cumbersome. I gather the wide sleeves in my hands, stumble as I lift the hem of the skirt, and flee into the mountain forest. Before I know it, I am cornered at the edge of a cliff again. The glint of blades draws closer inch by inch. My mind in a daze, I leap off the cliff. Behind me, a heart-wrenching cry rings out. Yunling, seeing me fall, he tries to jump after me, only to be dragged back by the guards who rush over just in time. I am sorry, Your Highness. Even at the end, I have to make you grieve like this. As I plummet downward at breakneck speed, a spot of red light illuminates my eyes. It is the peony flower. In mid-air, it chases after my falling body, as if locking eyes with me. Once again, the bald monk's voice echoes faintly in my ears. This was brought by a noble person in the palace, the last peony flower of this spring. I give it to you, to end the karmic ties. The wind howls in my ears. The bald monk claps his hands and laughs loudly. The karmic ties on the benefactor are like a ring, interlocking each other, yet no one knows where the head is. If this is my karma, my fate, I do not fear it. I reach out and grasp the peony flower. Plop, I fall from the heights, like a drop of water from the clouds, falling back into the river. In the long river of time, I sail upstream. 51. The world spins. The soil beneath me is soft. I land on the ground. Something pricks my cheek, a sharp, tickling sensation. Soft spring grass comes into view. In the distance, palace maids and eunuchs kneel prostrate on the ground. The empress helps me up. Her excitement impossible to conceal. A miracle. The gods have descended. I blink in confusion. The empress before me is only about 20 years old, her black hair like a cloud, youthful and radiant. Have I traveled back further in time? I glance around, my eyes sweeping over the altar. the tributes, the musicians, the high monks, it dawns on me belatedly that a sacrificial ritual is being held in the palace. The Empress clutches my hand. Did the gods hear my prayers and come here specially? I still wear the cumbersome, resplendent, auspicious robe from the prayer ceremony. It is no wonder I am mistaken for a god. I meet the Empress's eager gaze, clear my throat lightly, and feign calmness. I have been wandering the world, and heard the sound of music, so I came to take a look. What does your Majesty pray for? At my words, the Empress is about to kowtow deeply to me, beg the gods to save my son. I fluster and help her up at once. Only then do I notice the Empress's abdomen is slightly swollen. She is already with child. The only child born to the Middle Palace is the Highness. My pupils constrict, almost unable to believe my eyes. By now, the Empress has told me the whole story. It is the 3rd year of Zhaoning. The Empress was harmed by a villain during her pregnancy and poisoned. It was too late when the poison was discovered. It has already seeped deep into the fetus's body. 51. The imperial physicians only managed to purge the poison from the Empress's body, but are helpless against what remains. They say if the child cannot be cured of the poison within 100 days of his birth, it will seep into his heart and lungs, and he will surely die. Tears fill the Empress's eyes. Immortal, is there a cure? I fall silent for a moment. Your Majesty, do not grieve, I have a way. In my past life, after ascending the throne, the Highness was plagued by an incurable illness, his body wasting away day by day. I inquired far and wide, and learned of a moon god grass in Nanjiao that could cure all ailments. I sent men to beg for it, only to receive word that the grass had been taken by 2 people from the Central Plains more than 20 years prior. Calculating by the current time, the moon god grass is most likely still in Nanjiao. If I move quickly enough, I might be able to get there before those 2. The Empress's face lights up with joy at my affirmative answer, her excitement beyond words. With tears in her eyes, she shyly presses my hand to her belly. Chia. Do not be afraid, she murmurs softly. Mother has invited an immortal to save you. My hand stiffens like wood. In the next moment, the Empress's belly stirs. A faint, gentle touch brushes against my palm. Tears sting my eyes. 52. I set off for Nanjiao to seek the medicine. No sooner have I left the city than I spot a monk, being chased by a shopkeeper for 10 streets, all the way out of the city, for refusing to pay his bill. When I see him, he is squatting by the city wall, on the verge of tears, drawing circles on the ground. Master, I do not want to wander the world anymore. I want to go back to the temple, he whimpers. The shopkeeper grabs his ear fiercely. Cut the crap. 10 steamers of buns, pay up or you're not leaving. The monk looks wronged. Master said when I go down the mountain to beg for alms, I don't need to pay money. The shopkeeper flies into a rage. Have you ever seen a monk eat meat buns? You fake monk, pay up. I can stand it no longer. Something about the monk's figure also seems familiar, as if I have seen him somewhere before. I fish a silver ingot out of my bosom and toss it over. The shopkeeper's face breaks into a grin as he catches the ingot, and glares at the monk one last time before leaving. You deadbeat, if I ever see you again, I'll break your legs. The monk lets out a sniveling whimper. I sigh, about to leave, when the monk suddenly looks up. He has a pair of startlingly beautiful eyes, clear and bright, like snow on a mountain, dew on a leaf. I have seen this man before. The monk smiles warmly. This humble monk is Miaofa. Greetings. I find myself stuck with Miaofa. He rides a donkey, trotting along behind my horse, chattering away like a sparrow. Non-stop, I close my eyes numbly. Along the way, I have already learned his whole life story. In his own words, that is, he is a monk from the great Xianghua temple, 15 years of age. The abbot said his fate dictates he will not live past 25, so he let him go down the mountain to wander the world. This boy lives by the motto life is short, carpe diem. He broke his precepts within a month of leaving the mountain, swaggering into a gambling den, lost all his silver, and now begs for alms everywhere. He is also an extremely picky eater, refusing vegetable buns, only eating meat ones. At this moment, Miaofa's prattling continues. This humble monk just realized I've never tasted wine before. Yunling, when will you take me to sneak a drink? I can bear it no longer. Why do we have to sneak it? Meowfar looks indignant, as if I have asked a ridiculous question, because it's both thrilling and a broken precept. I fall silent for a long while, and speak with great difficulty. May I ask you a question? Speak, benefactor. Meowfar smiles. This humble monk will hide nothing. Answer all, I snap. Why are you following me? Is it because following me is also thrilling and a broken precept? Meowfar sways his head back and forth. You are the only person who has bothered to talk to me since I came down the mountain, so this humble monk is sticking with you. How can someone be so shameless? 53, with Meowfar in tow. Traveling day and night is double the exhaustion. Spring fades into summer, and a month has passed since we left the capital. I glance at the map, then at the mountain forest before me, and finally confirm with despair that we have taken the wrong road. To reach Nanjiao, we should have headed southwest, yet we have gone due west, ending up at White Egret Mountain. Meowfar pokes my shoulder, his voice tentative. Yunling, do you think that black thing with green eyes ahead is edible? I look up impatiently. What nonsense are you spouting now? My voice dies in my throat. Beneath the moonlight, in the heart of the forest, dozens of glowing green eyes lock onto us. I draw in a sharp breath. Meowfar does not realize the danger in the slightest, and begins counting on his fingers, one for roast meat, one for barbecued meat, and another for. A vein throbs on my forehead. I stamp on his foot hard. It'll eat you first. What are you standing there for? Run. No matter how fast we run, horses, donkeys, and humans are no match for wolves. Meowfar and I are carried off by the wolves. Meowfar trembles like a leaf, his eyes squeezed shut tight, and begins chanting scriptures. I snort in exasperation. What's the use of chanting now? Do you expect to enlighten these wolves and make them convert to Buddhism? No, Meowfar says, his face innocent, his voice a tiny whisper. This humble monk is chanting the rebirth mantra, to transcend us in advance. I clutch my chest and take a deep breath. Before long, we are carried back to the wolf's den. The alpha wolf does not eat us, but tosses us into a hay nest in the corner of the cave. Oh, Meowfar is stunned by the fall. Rubbing his round head, he tries to sit up, and suddenly touches something scaldingly hot. He leaps to his feet with a shrill scream. Yunling, save me. I follow his terrified gaze. In the hay nest at the heart of the wolf pack's lair lies an infant, burning with a raging fever. I yank my hand back, scalded, and look up to meet a pair of glowing green wolf eyes. You want me to save him? The alpha wolf lets out a mournful whine. As if in answer, I feel the infant's pulse, thanks to my past life. I learned medical skills to care for the frail young phoenix. I diagnose his illness in an instant: heat stroke and a cold. I forage for a few medicinal herbs in the forest, crush them with a stone, and feed the paste into the infant's mouth. After a few days of such care, his fever breaks, and he gradually recovers. When he is not nestled against the she-wolf's belly nursing, the infant stares at us with big, round eyes. Meowfar clicks his tongue in wonder. His courage returns, and he coos and babbles at the infant, playing with him. When he makes the baby cry, he hands him right back to the she-wolf. The toothless infant flies into a rage and bites him. The she-wolf flicks him a glance, and Meowfar finally behaves himself. I notice the infant is covered in red rashes from mosquito and insect bites, and resolve to do a good deed to the end. I pluck some insect repellent and soothing herbs, intending to make him a sachet, then I freeze. In my hand is the sachet I promised to make for the highness after the autumn hunt, the one I never got to give him, thanks to the Empress's plea, and have carried with me ever since. Unconsciously, an image rises in my mind: Ashuo's tattered old sachet, the fine new fabric from the Eastern Palace, the clumsy embroidery, and that night on White Egret Mountain, Ashuo bidding farewell to his dead wolf mother, stammering the word repay. I stand up abruptly, in the cave. The infant is nestled against the she-wolf's belly, fast asleep. I stare at his sleeping face, transfixed. In the curve of his brows and the corner of his eyes, there is indeed the shadow of the future leader of the Eastern Palace's hidden guards. Meowfar pokes his head out from behind a rock. What's wrong? Do you know this child? I turn to him in a daze, and Meowfar blinks his innocent eyes. What is it? What's wrong? The words slip out before I can stop them. Why did you go blind, why? When we meet again 9 years later, will those beautiful eyes be gone? Meowfar flies into a fury. Yunling, you're cursing me. I belatedly realize my words have crossed a line. I'm sorry, I spoke without thinking. It's fine, it's fine. Meowfar waves a hand dismissively. Seeing my silence, this humble monk is not angry. I assure you, after all, this humble monk has less than 10 years left to live. I'll surely not live long enough to go blind with old age. Haha. I leave the insect repellent sachet behind and depart White Egret Mountain. When we meet again 17 years later, this trinket will be our sign of recognition. Beneath the moon, I turn my horse's head and glance back at the Indigo Mountains. The pack of wolves howls at the night sky. Their cries sad and plaintive. Ashuo, grow up well. 54, early autumn, and we finally reach Nanjiao. The streets are bustling with crowds. Meowfar tugs me into the throng to watch the commotion. After a moment, I realize what we are seeing. A man from the Central Plains, living in Nanjiao as a guest, has eloped with the high priest's beloved youngest daughter. Fortunately, the guards discovered them in time and dragged the runaway couple back. The high priest is furious. And the Central Plains man is now being paraded through the streets in a cage. I look up and draw in a sharp breath. The man is locked in a wooden cage, his head bowed, yet his back is ramrod straight. This is none other than the young grand tutor, Jiyu Yang. As for the high priest's beloved youngest daughter, her identity is all too clear. I tug Meowfar's sleeve silently. Let's go, we have business to attend to. We are here for the medicine, not the spectacle. Meowfar, who has been watching with rapt attention, is dragged away by me, craning his neck back every step of the way. Reluctant to leave, I think to myself, my face impassive, in the future, when you become the national prelate, this star-crossed pair will one day enter the palace. She as a noble lady, he as the grand tutor. You will have plenty of time to watch their drama then. I produce the token the Empress gave me, and am soon granted an audience with the High Priest of Nanjiao. The Emperor and Empress of the Central Plains wish to exchange 10,000 taels of gold and countless rare treasures for the moon god grass. I say, the white-haired High Priest's eyes are half-closed. He shakes his head, saying only that the moon god grass is a national treasure of Nanjiao, and he cannot comply. Not even 10,000 taels of gold can move him. How did those two people from the Central Plains obtain it in my past life? The High Priest sees we do not move, and urges us again. Two guests, please leave. A thought strikes me like a thunderbolt, and I look at Meowfar in disbelief. The two people from the Central Plains in the rumors, could it be Meowfar and I? Meowfar sees my stunned expression, and pats my shoulder in comfort. Why so shocked? It's clear you've never been rejected before. He winks at me, and lowers his voice to a whisper. Let's go first. This humble monk has an idea. 55, midnight. I stare at the figure standing before me. His face wrapped tightly in black cloth, my gaze lingering on his shiny bald head before I look away, unable to bear the sight, unbearable. I speak earnestly. The disguise is perfect. Never do it again. Meowfar frowns. Why do I feel like I just got scolded? I force a smile. You're so smart, how could that be? Meowfar finally realizes I am speaking sarcastically, and flies into a rage. After a flurry of fuss, he wraps my face in black cloth too. Meowfar admires his handiwork and claps his hands in satisfaction. Thieves, move out. 55. This theft does not go smoothly. There are far too many patrolling guards. Meowfar and I exchange a glance. Even through the black cloth, the gravity on each other's faces is plain to see. Just as we are at a loss, the crowd suddenly stirs into chaos. Miss Fengjin has run off with that Central Plains man again. Chase them. Go after them. In the commotion, I feel a girl brush past me. Her flowing black hair sweeping across my cheek. I look up abruptly, and meet a pair of melancholy eyes. Though we have never met, I seem to know who she is. Meowfar urges me. Hurry, now's our chance. A sharp-eyed guard spots the girl running past me, and his eyes widen in shock. Miss Fengjin is over. A small stone flies from my sleeve, striking the guard's pressure point for sleep. He crumples to the ground, a meaningless figure in the chaos. Meowfar drags me into the sacred pavilion. beneath the moon. I glance back one last time at the direction the girl fled. I think, if she can elope with Jiyu Yang successfully, she will not be sent to the palace as a tribute. Jiyu Yang will not enter the imperial court to find his beloved, will not, after discovering her death, scheme endlessly for the future of her child. Better to fulfill their love now, than to let fate take its cruel course. At my side, Miaofa draws in a sharp breath. He tugs my sleeve, gesturing for me to look up. The moon god grass, it glows pure white and translucent, like moonlight itself, but a large, brightly colored serpent coiled its tail around the sacred grass, its golden vertical pupils fixed unblinkingly on us. An attack posture. Miaofa's competitive spirit is ignited. He snatches a stick at random, ready to fight the serpent to the death. Bang! Behind us, the door of the sacred pavilion slams open. Guards pour in, surrounding us on all sides. The high priest is furious. His beard bristling with rage, sees these two Central Plains thieves. Miaofa drops the stick and shouts, "It's a misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding." No one pays him any heed. In the scuffle, something falls from my sleeve. The high priest glances at it casually and his eyes widen, transfixed. "Wait." He points at the withered red flower on the ground, his voice trembling. "What is this?" I eye him warily, and pick up the flower, a peony. The high priest's face lights up with sudden excitement. "Person from the Central Plains, you want the moon god grass, do you not? I will trade it for that flower." This, just like that. What is so extraordinary about this flower? As soon as the words leave my mouth, I freeze. I know all too well how I traveled back through time. This is a flower that can reverse time, recorded in the ancient books of Nanjiao, the high priest says. Gazing longingly at the withered red flower in my palm, I frown. But it is already withered. The high priest shakes his head. It is a seed. He traces a totem on his chest with a pious gaze. So it is real after all. A throbbing pain erupts in my temples. This peony flower, the bald monk said it was brought by a noble person in the palace, and in the palace, there is only one peony tree, a congratulatory gift from Nanjiao on the day the Highness ascended the throne. So, more than 20 years later, the peony tree presented by Nanjiao as a tribute. Its flower carried me back through time, leaving behind its seed, but if there was no seed first, how could the future peony tree ever grow? Cause and effect. Every single thread. My head aches unbearably. Perhaps, a thought gradually clarifies in my mind. Karma is not a straight line, it is a circle. So cause and effect can be reversed. A cause can be an effect can also be a cause. And the past, present, and future all exist at the same time. In this long river of time, countless versions of me run to and fro at every moment. We create cause and effect together. At the very same instant, we strive together to save the Highness. But where is the beginning and the end of this circle? The bald monk's loud laughter echoes in my ears once more, the shadow that hung over the old days rising again like a revived ghost. The karmic ties on the benefactor are like a ring, interlocking each other, yet no one knows where the head is. As we cross the border out of Nanjiao, guards march past us, escorting the escaped Fengjin back. I look closely and do not see Jiyu Yang's figure, only she has been captured this time. She failed, after all. I glance back, the young girl's head is bowed, like a withered flower. Before long, she will be sent to the imperial capital 1,000 li away, as the most beautiful tribute of the southern kingdom. No one will remember her original name. All that will remain of her is the title, Noble Lady Rong. In life, and in death. 56. We travel day and night, and finally return just before the Highness's 100-day feast. I watch with my own eyes as the young Highness swallows the moon god grass. I let out a breath of relief, only to lower my gaze and find the soft, white little thing staring unblinkingly at me. My heart melts into a puddle of softness, unable to resist. I sneak a gentle touch to his chubby little hand while the Empress is not looking. Immortal. The Empress finishes giving instructions to a palace maid, and turns her head. I withdraw my hand silently, but the young Highness grabs my little finger. The Empress turns, and catches me red-handed. She smiles softly. "Please, Immortal, give Chia a courtesy name, as a blessing." In that instant, I remember the legend in the palace, that on the young highness's 100th day, an immortal wandering the world came here and gave him the courtesy name Fenghuang, Phoenix. I tremble violently, the empress's gaze is eager, and the young highness babbles, reaching out his hands to me. Tears stream down my face, then I hear my own voice, soft and hoarse. I say, Fenghuang, a phoenix must nirvana and be reborn, but you do not have to. Your life will be smooth and unhindered. You will always be my bright, proud little phoenix. All the calamities and tribulations, I will bear them for you. 57. The next day is the highness's 100-day feast. The empress has prepared a grabbing week ceremony in advance, and invites me to watch. Then I see, the young highness skips past the gold, silver and rare treasures before him, and grabs the hem of my sleeve. He giggles loudly. The empress looks a little embarrassed. Immortal, Chia did not mean to offend. I stare down in a daze, and meet his curved, laughing eyes, like fate, a prophecy fulfilled in a single moment. It is nothing, a harmless little interlude. The sun grows hotter and hotter, and my consciousness blurs for a moment. The sky shifts, rays of sunlight shoot across the sky, auspicious clouds roll and surge. Everyone is stunned by this celestial omen, and hurries to congratulate the emperor and empress on the high platform, saying the young highness is surely no ordinary child. Miaofa sets down his elbow, a ring of sauce around his mouth. Yunling, what is wrong with you? Your face is as white as a sheet. His voice jolts me back to my senses. I realize I am covered in cold sweat. In my ears, a faint, cold voice suddenly echoes. Karma is closed. It is time for you to return. On the high platform, the young highness seems to sense something, and bursts into tears. Miaofa exclaims in shock. Yunling, your hand. My hand beneath my sleeve is fading to transparency. He tries to grab me, but his hand passes through my translucent body in vain. He realizes I am fading away, bit by bit. Where are you going? Can you take me with you? I force a bitter smile. Perhaps to the future. I am afraid not. Miaofa cries in anxiety. Then where will I see you in the future? You promised to take me to sneak a drink. The words burst out of my mouth. The palace. I clench my teeth, my voice torn to shreds by the wind. I will come back, I promise I will. But the next time we meet, I may not recognize you anymore. You must tell me your name. Miaofa shouts at the top of his lungs. Okay, then this humble monk will prepare the wine, and wait for you to drink with me. But how long will this humble monk have to wait for you? My mind goes completely blank. How long? The first time I traveled back, I returned to the 12th year of Zhaoning. I met the young highness. And I also met Miaofa. Before I could say anything, news of his passing came soon after. I suddenly realize, the next meeting I promised Miaofa. It will be his last meeting in this life. In the next moment, everything before my eyes vanishes. In the vast white nothingness, the celestial voice sounds again. You saved him once, but trapped him for a lifetime. Such is time, such is fate. I tremble and ask, can you tell me why Miaofa went blind? His fate is sealed. He ages 10 times faster than ordinary mortals. Because of your promise to return, he feared you would not recognize him. He traded a pair of eyes to the gods and Buddhas for eternal youth and beauty. In that instant, the past flashes before my eyes, finally freezing on the dozens of jars of good wine I found in the star-picking pavilion. I thought at the time, Miaofa, this monk looks upright and serious, but he secretly hid so much wine privately, so that was why, because of a single promise to return, he was trapped in one place, for the rest of his long life. The 12th year of Zhaoning, in the dim star-picking pavilion, what I thought was our first meeting, was for him a long-awaited reunion with an old friend. His voice was hoarse like an old man's, but there was a smile on his brows. This humble monk is Miaofa, divine maiden, long time no see. Would you like a drink? It is as if we met again for the first time in the 3rd year of Zhaoning. The green, shameless young monk riding a donkey, swaying his head, chattering non-stop. Yunling, when will you take me to sneak a drink, to face each other, and not know who the other is? What a cruel fate. 58. Late spring of the 3rd year of Zhaoning, I meet the empress, and encounter a green, shameless young monk named Miaofa. Midsummer night, I save a wolf boy on White Egret Mountain, who I will meet again 17 years later. His name is Ashuo. Autumn, I arrive in Nanjiao, and witness a pair of lovers eloping, only to fail. I leave behind a flower seed. In the distant future, Nanjiao will present a peony as a gift to congratulate the new emperor on his ascension. Early winter. I return to the palace with the moon god Grass. At the young highness's 100-day feast, I give him the courtesy name Fenghuang. In the unseen depths, karma has its own destined course. I look up, and a golden long river flows slowly before my eyes. I hear voices, the joys and sorrows, the love and hate, the songs and cries of countless people. This river is named Time. My voice is thick and choked. Then where am I to return to? Come from where you came, go to where you must go. The cinnabar mole fades to nothing, the peony withers. It is time to go back. My body feels light and empty, like a drop of water, merging into the current. In the next moment, my fingertips burn. There is someone who refuses to let you go. He has tied you with a red string and forced you to stay. The celestial voice stutters, and a sigh follows. Flowers bloom and fade in their own time. How long can he keep you here? I stare down in a daze. A faint red mark circles the base of my finger. In this world, karmic bonds are born and extinguished, time and time again, yet a single thread of red string seeks to pull me back to the mortal world, back to the side of that one person. 58. Karma endures, a long dream spanning years, when I pry open my eyelids with great effort. The sky is pale with the first light of dawn. The highness sits by my bed, his cheek resting on his hand, fast asleep. As the celestial voice said, a strand of red string is tied around the base of my finger, a mortal bond that seems unbreakable. Legends in this dynasty say that those bound by a red string will be intertwined for a lifetime. I stare at it, transfixed. Above my head, the highness's hoarse voice suddenly rings out, "The red string has caught you, you cannot run away again." He holds me tightly in his arms, something warm and wet trickles into the hollow of my neck. I realize sluggishly that they are tears. Eling, you have no idea how close I came to madness these past days. Only then do I learn that on that day, the highness broke free from the guards and jumped off the cliff after me. He searched for 3 days, and found me on a large stone by the water's edge. I had fallen into the river, and the tides had washed me ashore. I lay in a coma for nearly a year. In that year, the emperor's illness worsened, and the crown prince ruled as regent. The highness struck at the noble clans, seizing power and authority. He first targeted the Marquis mansion, killing the chicken to scare the monkeys. Then with thunderous means, he quelled all voices of doubt in the court. Even without me, he still did everything perfectly. I have always known that. I remember something, and stumble toward the side hall. I find the scroll of the divine maiden. This time, I unfurl it. The once blurry face of the divine maiden has quietly transformed into my own eyebrows and eyes. Karma closes, clear as day, meeting the highness's stunned gaze. I twitch the corner of my mouth, trying to smile. "Your highness." My voice is hoarse. "I went back to your past. I met the little you." It turns out that our fates were intertwined so long ago. The past is like a swan's footprints on snow, faint, fleeting, 1,000 threads, and no knowing where to begin. I part my lips. Late spring of the 3rd year of Zhaoning, in an instant, tears pour down my face. 59. The emperor's passing comes on an ordinary winter day. The chief eunuch cries out for his majesty, and dashes his head against the dragon bed, dying where he falls. It is the last trace of bloodshed in the era of Zhaoning. One age ends, and another begins. At the end of the year, the highness's ascension ceremony is held. As I wished, he finally steps into the brilliant, glorious future that belongs to him. I stare unblinkingly at the young emperor on the white jade platform. The imperial dragon robe, the 9-beaded crown, inlaid with gold and jade. I dress him in each piece with my own hands. The highness had wanted me to be the master of ceremonies, but I refused. These days, my consciousness fades more and more often. It is a sign that I am going to leave again. The celestial voice was right. The highness cannot keep me. The cry of "Long live the emperor" resounds in my ears. And I kneel prostrate on the ground with the rest, saying, "Long live our emperor, long live, long live forever. Memories flash before my eyes like a revolving lantern. I think of the imperial edict to make me empress, hidden beneath my pillow, his imperial brush and golden seal, every stroke written with my name. I think of the middle of the night, when the highness, finished with state affairs, creeps to my bed, and presses a precious, gentle kiss to my forehead. I never opened my eyes. Only my eyelashes trembled like a butterfly's wings. In that moment, thinking of my impending disappearance in the near future, I only wished the highness would forget me. The nights are long, and dreams are many. How much grief it would bring him. The highness sighed. He did not expose my pretense of sleep, only tucked the quilt around me softly. I never spoke of it, and he never asked. Some words, spanning 2 lifetimes, were never spoken. Do you like it? Like the moon, love and adoration. People feign deafness and dumbness. The moon remains silent. Who knows? Only the wind that blew through the hall that night knows. A long, long time ago, the little highness once asked me a question. Will there come a day when the divine maiden is gone? The pure, clear voice of a child still echoes in my ears. I had no answer for him then. Now, at last, I have one. By then, the little highness will surely be famous all over the world. Do not mourn the road ahead for lack of friends. Who in the world does not know you? So do not be afraid, my little highness. The red string snaps. The moment it slips off my finger, I hear the celestial voice again. It is time to return. I whisper, where will I go? The place of departure is the journey home. The place of departure. I stare blankly for a moment, then suddenly laugh. All dermas are empty, yet karma is not empty. Who am I? I am an unnamed beggar girl from Pomegranate Flower Alley. I am a mad dog at the highness's side. I am a tiny mayfly in this long river of time. 60. Snow falls silently on the long street. Pomegranate Flower Alley is covered in a vast expanse of white. From the depths of the dirty alleyway, the bark of 2 dogs drifts far away. This is where it all began, the very origin. I stare at the pale moon in the snow mist, and smile foolishly. The moon should hang high in the sky forever. My highness, too, should sit atop the cloud platform, untouched by dust and mortal toil. I yearn for one person, who is as gentle and pure as the moonlight. I dwell in the mud and dust, daring not to taint him, only wishing him a perfect life. The young new emperor ascends the throne to the cry of long live, ushering in his magnificent age of prosperity. The spring breeze tower is still decorated with lanterns and streamers, yet there is no longer the young male companion foamling, and the unnamed, faceless little beggar girl. She starves to death, quietly, on the last snowy night of the old year. This is where the story starts. My stomach rumbles with hunger, dizziness clouding my vision, but this time, no one is there to share half a cold steamed bun with me. I do not want to die. I want to shout, to cry for help, but no sound comes out. I look up to the sky and ask, is this my karma, my fate? Heaven lowers its eyes, silent and indifferent. Only the night snow falls on my nose, an omen of a good year to come. Everything is over, at this moment. I still think of the night the highness stole a kiss from me. I had wished then that he would forget me, to spare him grief. But now that I am dying, unwarranted wishes rise in my heart. Very well. I am not as magnanimous as I pretended to be. I am just a petty little girl. What I truly want to say is, Your Highness, could you please, not forget me? People say that the ghost of someone who is missed will follow that person every step of the way. I do not want to die at all. I want to stay by the highness's side, to see him in his prime, to see him with white hair, for many, many years. No matter what he becomes, every time I see him, he will be as he was at our first meeting. I cherish this mortal world with him in it so deeply. At the end of the long street, the clatter of hooves on snow draws near, the 12-panel dragon robe, the 9-beaded crown, yet he rides the white horse just as he did in his youth, unrestrained, handsome, unchanged. He comes so fast, so urgently. I stare up at him in a daze, wondering if what I see is a mercy from heaven, a phantom dream granted to me before I die. The fine snow on my brows melts, hanging on my eyelashes like teardrops. Wherever you are, I will find you. I fall into a warm embrace, a tight hold, as if to merge our bones and blood, to never part for the rest of this life. But Ling, you should not have left me. His hoarse voice rings in my ears, stirring my soul to its core, in this long river of time. It is only when you meet me that karma forms a perfect circle. The falling snow is silent, swirling in vast drifts. The unalterable karma closes here. With a soft click, a single point stretches into a line. Curving to form a circle, going round and round, we return to each other's sides. I am dizzy, struck by the good fortune bestowed by fate. I cry and laugh, not knowing how to reply. So this is how it is. This is how it always was. This is the true ending of the story. The moon sets and is reborn. The lanterns light up again. From now on, in every spring morning and moonlit night, every year and every passing day, we will meet, always.